Good morning, traders out there. Well, wouldn't you know it? Good old the big bad wolf came around. And what did he bring? He brought the transitory back. And so you got to be asking yourself, is the market the brick house here? Is it the straw house here? Or is it the paper house? Well, I don't think it's the paper house. So we don't have to call it like the house of cards where it's just going to knock on over. But I don't know if this is the brick style of market. Can it hang on with mentions of inflation going higher and concerns, right? Is it transitory or not? Last time we heard that mention, just didn't hold, right? So did Jerome Powell save or crack the market today? So a lot of reaction on the first reaction was a dovish reaction, right? The market's going up higher. But something tells me that's leaving room for the real flush today. So we'll take a look at the action. Like always, guys, smash the like. We got a lot to talk about right here. And we'll find out, what did Jerome really do to this market? Market's trying to put in a little bit of a fight right now. I always like when you see these actions, you got to kind of look for a little bit of the reversal. It's very rare to see that kind of down action in the pre-market and then for it to continue the bleed. But right now, this is the big watch, big day for the bulls. Can they hold? Because if we go back through the daily lows, this easily starts looking like a dead cat bounce. So big day today. Can we hold on? If we do cut back through 550s, the bear markets talk will be getting louder. So today, where's the max pain on? Honestly, it could be on both sides. Expecting choppy markets is what I'm expecting. But let's get to today's playbook action. Let's take a look around in the market, see what we can find, right? There's going to be some up and down action today. We got to be moving back and forth today. That's one thing I noticed. It's not going to be just one easy way ride today. And we'll be looking to see what we can find in the market. Let's kick things off with today's playbook. All right, guys, first up, we got to take a look at to see what we can find. But one of the things that I'll be looking to see is if we get this down action, right? And if we do get this down action, we can, of course, keep an eye out to the VXX. And I got another one for you guys, because what I'm looking for is to see what happens to the growth names today. So I'm looking at SARK, which would be essentially against the ARKK, right? The ARKK has gotten a little lift as of late, a little one. You can see it here, right back to the 9 EMA. But will it make its way back there towards 70s? Or is this a time where it comes back down and even lower than it was in the bear market? This is my concern. Is Kathy just going to get the stuff? Well, one thing that I'll tell you guys to watch here is one stock that was leading the market yesterday. It was Roku. Roku was one of the strongest stocks yesterday. So this will be one of my indicators to watch for this trade. If Roku starts to break down, well, that could be a good sign that the growth trade is getting hit. We'll be taking a look to see what happens with growth and value today, as I'm also calling along on XLP and watching for that action. Why? Because is this the moment where traders determine, hey, it's not the bounce that I want to be having, and I want to go back into the safety trade, right? We're talking the bigger traders, the institutional style traders, of course, that can't get out of the market and can only rotate. Another place to look at is XLU, and we saw energy taking a big lift yesterday. So continuing to watch the action here, because it isn't looking good. I'll tell you one thing. One easy way to bring up inflation fears is to see oil go higher. So continue to watch this. I will be watching this today. Chevron has been my pick from there. And look at the action that we're getting on Chevron. This looks pretty to me, guys. I can tell you guys on the swing trade alert, I would definitely be trying to get this anytime back towards the 9 EMA. You can see how it keeps holding above the 9 EMA, telling me that oil might be an area to look for some upside. MPC, you can look at so many names. PSX, right? PSX looks interesting here as it's been kind of sideways for so long. But if it can break through this, this looks pretty. Guys, it can really kind of make a move back towards 140, 150s. So I don't mind these at all. And look at the MACD already crossing over, holding the move right now. Just need to see it get back through like 130s, 132. and go for the break, right? We'll see what happens there in PSX and different oil names. But if there's one name that can definitely bring inflation worries, it's going to be if oil starts to rip. Take a look at gold, right? Gold has been hanging in here. There's a lot of stocks kind of hanging in there, guys. So we'll see. Have to see what happens there. Playbook today is really going to be also just watching the action towards the gates, because it's going to be back and forth today, guys. And I think you got to be very nimble. Right now, I'm watching also the quantum names, right? Let's add those to the playbook and expand the playbook. As today at 1 p.m., we will have multiple of these stocks kind of reporting. And I think it's very important to know what type of stocks are going to actually be at the conference and what should I pay attention to? What should I maybe not pay attention to, right? All these things are very important. And so what I did, guys, is I looked into the release, right? And I pulled here so that you guys can take a look at some of these companies, right? Of course, lovely Chat GPT, give them a little shout out like always. But here you guys have it, right? Look at the action here, guys. And you guys can see here, publicly traded companies. NVIDIA is going to be there, of course, because they're leading it, right? But you got IonQ, you got Rigetti, you got QUBTS, but there's not many other names, right? Like where's QMCO? Not at the event, guys. There's some private companies that are interesting, like this Quantanium. This is a subsidy from Honeywell. I didn't know Honeywell had their foot in the quantum game. These are the types of things that are very important to learn, guys. And so sometimes just using AI for something like this can really give you a lift. One of the things that we talked about just last week, of course, with Quasar Markets, we were talking about how AI is needed for trading nowadays, and it can really help you get an advantage. So here's one of those that I'd definitely be watching. Also, a lot of these private companies, right? There's some private companies that will be talking. I think these are really interesting to hear from, to see their perspective, because they don't have so much of a I need to push mentality because they're not under the public scope. So continue to watch to see this event. Of course, this is going to start at 1 p.m. today. Take a look at that, guys. You can watch that on NVIDIA's website. And if you guys need that site, let me know in the chat. We can take a look at it. All right, guys, let's keep taking a look at different trades out there. I'm ready to get to the sunrise report. We'll talk a little bit more about Jerome Powell, the big bad wolf. I'll catch some comments in the chat. It's good to see you guys out there. Good morning to you guys, and definitely smash the like. Let me know what you guys are thinking and what you think about the new programs, guys. Starting at $47, you guys could be trading today with me, Michael Noss, and later today, Michael Katz will be joining us, of course, CEO of Trade the Pool, to talk about these programs. So let's kick things off. The energy is feeling good, guys, and I'll tell you one thing. We're doing good. We're battling, even in the funded accounts, right? Now, of course, myself funded. We got, of course, Michael Noss funded, and we're going to be pushing, guys. We got to keep pushing together as a team. Let's keep growing here and expand the team. So the number one way that you can help us and help myself and Michael Noss is hitting that share button. You see that button right below right now on YouTube? Hit that share button, or if you're out there on X, retweet this. I'm going to retweet this myself. I always like to kind of run you guys through this because I think it's so important to get other traders in here, right? So, hey, guys, just go right there to the Trade the Pool Twitter. And if you don't have our Twitter, you're missing out. Hit that retweet. I'm hitting it right now. You guys will see it right on the screen. A little kind of inception here for you guys. There you guys have it. Look, double money Mitches. Let's go, guys. Hit that repost, hit the like, and let me know a stock that you guys are looking at. Hit the comments. I want to see who out there is on the X world out there. Let me know what stock you're watching. I'm going to take a look at the comments in just a second. We'll run through some of those stocks. Let's kick off the sunrise report and take a look at what stocks are moving and why this morning. All right, team. Of course, this morning is all about Jerome Powell and one word only. And that's all about transitory. I feel like we've heard that one before, of course. The Fed is walking, of course, on a tightrope right now, balancing a couple of things, right? The inflation risk, the economic slowdown concerns, and market stability. Now, the important thing is to look underneath what is actually happening here. So the dot plot did shift here, and QT moderation, so quantitative tightening, slowing down a little bit here, signaling what? Signaling more of a cautious Fed, which is very important. In reacting to risks from the tariff-driven inflation to the global economic uncertainty. The market would be laser focused, of course, on the upcoming data because what did they tell us? That they wanted to be data dependent. What did I tell you guys yesterday was we talked about? What did we talk about with Giles Coughlin? Well, I talked about how, you'd get that data dependency conversation. And what did Giles tell you? He said, pay attention to the GDP predictions because that was going to be very vital for the market. So if you take a look at that, what happened to GDP? Well, growth downgraded. The Fed slashed its GDP forecast to 1.7, down from 2.1, signaling concerns about a slowdown. And inflation revised up. Core inflation is now projected at 2.8, where previously it was at 2.5. With tariffs and other pressures fueling price increase, this is still something to think about. But then we take a look at the dot plot, right? In the shift, right? The median projection sees the Fed fund rate at 3.9% by the year's end. But 4 officials now anticipate no cuts at all for this year. So like I mentioned at the beginning of the year, even last year, man, that these cuts would hold on for a long time. The Fed needs to see the market completely break. I don't understand that sometimes, but that's just the truth of the thing, guys. And so right now, I'm a little concerned, guys. The bear in me is coming out. I can just tell you guys that. And rate cuts still on the table, right? The Fed expect 2 rate cuts in 2025, but the outlook is less certain as some officials are starting to lean very hawkish. And so those are all things that we need to be considering here. And then we got to take a look at the different mentions that were given, right? He said on inflation has started to move up now, partly in response to the tariffs. So if it's partly in response to the tariffs, there's something else causing some of this inflation. All things to think about, right? He also hinted that inflationary effects from the tariffs may be transitory, echoing past miscalculations that forced aggressive hikes in the past. And of course, while 2 cuts are still in this forecast, they also emphasize that they're not locked to that path, right? Essentially telling you that they can turn on a dime there and just continue going higher. The slower QT, of course, reducing its monthly treasury runoff from 25 billion to 5 billion starting in April. Big hint there. So if there's anything that I'm going to be looking for is maybe some 10 days of tough markets, and then April being a little bit better, at least at the start. We'll see what happens there, as there's also mentions of mortgage-backed security capped, unchanged, still set at 35 billion per month. I think that's a sign of concern. I think they're starting to see some issues in housing, some issues in the consumer, and all things that we need to be thinking about here as we move forward. All right, guys, let's keep it going with the Sunrise Report. We'll go now towards more stock conversation, but definitely, if you guys didn't catch the conversation, we are going to be putting out a nice little recap on the FOMC statement there. So I got to check if it's already out on Twitter, but I put a nice little recap there for everyone to read and understand a little bit more about what's happening here underneath the hood. Not just the rhetoric, but the numbers. The numbers are very important. All right, let's go to the earnings and the market movers of the day. The first one that we'll talk about is DRI. Let's go ahead. Let's take a look at DRI. Of course, we're talking restaurants here when we're talking Darden restaurants. Let me know in the chat, who's gone to a Darden restaurant as of late? A Longhorn, right? Olive Garden, those types of places. Well, this has been a big drive, right? If you think about it, the stock is trading at pretty much all-time highs, right? But now getting a little bit of a pullback here as the numbers came in. Not too bad, really, when you think about it. EPS coming in here at $2.80 adjusted versus the $2.79 expected. It beat by a cent, right? Nothing bad there. revenues missed though here at 3.16 versus a 3.21 billion expected. The stock was down 1% pre-market as investors were, of course, digesting the softer than expected sales. Well, I don't think this is something to really be concerned about. Now, the sales are something that can be something you can think about. Is the consumer just slowing down? So they're still finding ways to be profitable, but is the actual revenues starting to leak because consumers are starting to stay inside? Well, we'll see what happens there. Now, an edible brand is jumping into the hemp game. So there's this new course. I think it's EDBL. Let me just make sure that, yeah. So you got Edible Garden, of course, that is coming out with a new kind of move here. So I'll be watching to see what happens with this. But they're launching edibles.com, an e-commerce hub for hemp products like canned drinks and Wana gummies. Hemp THC sales are booming, and edible brands are positioning itself for a trusted marketplace for consumers navigating the industry's regulatory wild west. Well, I'll tell you guys, this is nothing that makes me happy on the hemp side of things, because the truth is that we need some actual federal regulation to come into play here and put things into play. But we'll see what happens with this. It's nothing that a headline that I think is very important. What I think is more important, take a look at the earnings that we have after the bell today. It's very important to watch these because it's going to be market moving for sure. There's some big names that we got to keep an eye out for. So I'll scroll these at the bottom just so you guys can see them. Of course, tonight, Nike, FedEx, we got Micron that we need to be watching. Nike will be a big read on the consumer. So will FedEx. A lot of times FedEx, guys, is viewed, FDX is viewed as an indicator for the overall economy. So I'm watching here as FedEx has recently pulled back. And will we go more into a case like we did here, where it's just a drop off, right? That could be a telling sign for the economy. Big report tonight in FedEx. And then a tech boy, a big one, right? Like Micron, that's been hanging on here sideways. What are the big boys betting? If I take a look at the monthlies seem to be just hanging on here, which is a good sign, right? A good sign to see is on the monthlies. And sometimes I just erase all, right? Sometimes you just want to make new levels, right? And if I take a look at that, I just keep it simple, right? I can see 83 support, right? Sales keep coming in towards the 112s. We need to see where this breaks. Is it above or below? And this is going to be a major call for semiconductors overall. So take a look at that action, guys. Of course, you guys could catch all that with different partners that we have right there, guys. When you go for the bigger packages, check out things like Benzinga Pro and others that can give you guys this information and, of course, estimates and things like that to look out for. It's good to see you guys in the chat. What's going on out there, guys? Would love to go support them on some soup combos. I see you out there, Tim. How we doing? Bearish on DRI. All right. I can't blame you, man, especially with consumer going down. I'm trading the demo account and getting familiar with the software. So important, man. So important. Love to catch those comments in the chat. Let's keep the sunrise going here. Last one that I want to talk about is an upgrade here on FCX. So FCX, of course, is a copper company, and this is very important because copper has pretty much gone sideways for about how long, guys? Well, I'll tell you right now. Just look at that, right? That is 4 years of sideways action. Yes, the stock goes up, but if it comes down and keeps making the support around there, well, it has essentially gone nowhere. Sometimes you guys can look at things in quarterly, or even like I like to look at it sometimes in a yearly outlook. Take a look at the yearly outlook here, guys. The yearly outlook here tells me that we could be in for a bigger move. And a lot of people keep talking about how copper is so important for semiconductors. And we all know that AI needs those semiconductor chips, right? And they're using more and more copper in these, right? It's not slowing down. So I think this is a big move to watch over time, guys. This could be one of the biggest moves in our generation and to be looking for, right? I hate making calls like that, but the truth is the yearly chart tells me that this is big. This is big if it can really break out here. So, of course, I'm more of a show me than I want to jump on the trend too early, but strong trend here, guys. It's been 10 days straight up. So we'll see if this starts to pull back and we get opportunities in copper. I like SCCO for that mention, right? So we'll see what happens with these copper plays, but it's something definitely to watch for to see if we get a bigger time move in these basic materials. This could also be inflationary, right? And so keeping an eye on this as we talk about gold, as we talk even about steel, because even like X has been slowly but surely starting to come back higher. I'm continuing to watch aluminum plays. There's so much to watch here in the basic materials that I think is very important. Even lithium itself, right? Lithium names are still on the radar for me. Overall, we're going to need some batteries if we're going to go into these EV cars. So we'll see what happens if Trump has something to say about that. But all things to be looking at here underneath the hood. Of course, today will be all about to see what happens with Jerome Powell. Did Jerome save or crack this market? All things to be asking yourself, and I'll let you guys in the chat go ahead and vote. Did Jerome Powell save the market yesterday or crack this market? Let me know in the chat by simply throwing it up, a save or a crack. I want to see you guys drop it in the chat right now. Let me know. What do you guys think? Come on. All right, guys, we'll see what happens out there. And of course, we'll be taking a look at some different action today. I'm looking to see those quantum names. I'm trying to keep trading, guys. I've been battling in the funded account, guys, going back and forth, but near that break even. That's so important for me. Now it's time to get over it and get over the hurdle, back into the green. And it's always about base hits. And sometimes I think about this in a weekly outlook, right? So sometimes as traders, we need to be thinking ourselves, what do I need to accomplish this week? For me, it was get back above that break even and slightly green. Let's get after it today. Let's see what we can come up with. Of course, the small names have been slowing down. I know a lot of traders are keep looking at the smaller names, and I literally got this account on smaller names, but I'm just not seeing the run that I used to see, guys. Even like this one, the WINT just popping up right now. This one has a tendency of running. It's a quick run. So I'm probably not going to jump into this right now as I see it get the pop on the radar. But this one doesn't look bad. It's recovering the 230s. It just made a move to 250s. I'd like to see a little pullback here to 240s. That's that I could play it, and I'd have to risk off the 225s. Let's see if it takes off there through the 250s and makes a run for 3. All right, guys, we'll see what happens on this one, WINT. But there's a couple other ones. ADTX, guys, another small cap name that we can keep an eye out for today. Got some pop in the pre-market, still holding on. But what I like is a longer-term chart. You can see this 15-minute, or you go to the hourly look. And what are you seeing here? Well, what I'm seeing here is repeated patterns, right? So essentially here was more of a flag pattern. And here you could say it's more of a pennant pattern, right? It could have that kind of even you could say a descending triangle, right? Because you have that kind of top pattern going down and the support right here, but it keeps holding in the same area off this prior resistance. So as long as this prior resistance can hold right around the, let me see the close on that. That's going to be 952. So 950 acting as your support right now. If that could keep hold, you're looking good here. ADTX already up there to 1153s. So this has been holding the 90 MA on the 15-minute pullback. Let's see if during the market we can come back for that 12. If we go back to 12, oh yeah, this could be rocking and rolling. We'll see what happens on ADTX. All right, guys, it's 8:58. We're going to go right now to the show in just a second here. I'll tell you one thing, guys. I'm ready for a good trading day, guys, because I prepared. I said, you know what? Bring the espresso. The wolf pack is on here. You guys know this mug. This is the wolf pack. You guys are my wolf pack out there. And like always, guys, you're only as strong as your pack, baby. So I'm excited to trade with you guys today. And I said, you know what? Today's going to be one of those days we might need 2 coffees. We might need 2 coffees to trade today, guys. It's going to be one of those action-packed days. I hope you're as excited as I am for the market. It's time to kick things off. Let's get right to it. Start that countdown. You guys know where you're at. It's TTP Live. Let's go see what the market has in store for us today. Wants 200, baby. You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money.
It's going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at. What's going on, traders? Let's go ahead. Let's get it started. Let's bring it on here. And it might just be a little bit of a battle today. Let's go ahead. Michael Noss, how are we doing today?
We're doing good. Looks like whatever they said yesterday, Jay Powell, they loved it, and then this morning they don't love it so much. So yeah, it should be a real interesting back and forth.
I think I tried to cover a lot of that in the pre-show here, and I think a lot of it is just actually looking at what happened, right? Some people were paying attention to the conversation. Of course, the lovely word transitory coming back into play here. And it just seemed
he had to be memeing, just saying you couldn't have picked any acronym to that. Just had to be
you couldn't go to thesaurus.com and just put transitory and just grab some other word.
Anything. Yeah. And anything.
That's what I would have done. That's what I would have done. Even if I would have thought I'm going to use the word transitory, I would have just been like, yo, ChatGPT, what other word do I use here?
Yeah.
Because I want to say transitory, but I can't say that
again. Period. I'm out.
It's almost like he wanted to be made fun of, right? Like you said, meme him, right?
Yeah, he's just memeing at this point, I think. Yeah. Whatever. Who cares?
All right, guys. I'm looking at a trade this morning, and I'm thinking it's hard for me to take this trade, but I'm watching the QUBT, and I'm watching it here, thinking that maybe I might take a trade early on here. It's a battle. It's a battle type of day. I'm fighting myself on where to really look right now. And part of that is just thinking that, man, these quantum names have been sitting on support for a while now, especially this QUBT. It's right on that $8 support, right? And it's a big spot here. You look back on the hourly, you could see how it's just right there, right? It's this first action, not even looking to the right. Don't even worry about this. Look over here. And look how on the first action, how it held that 8, and we were just coming back, and the bodies kept closing that. You got this undercut, right? But ever since then, even this candle went to 793, so we could probably pull it to that and call it the area, right? Like we always say, support is not necessarily just one point. It's more like an area. That's why I draw thick lines there to be like, it's in that area, right? So for right now, it's still kind of hanging on here. And so my idea is, could we get some opening rally into it and then see the takedown by the time we get to the event, right? By the time the CEO's on, I wouldn't be looking at this one. But we'll be watching to see what happens. Another thing that I noticed, and I talked about it in the pre-market, Michael, is that there's only 4 public companies out of the 12 that are there. The rest of them are private companies. And that's not really going to do too much for us. Maybe they can get some hype into it, but I don't know. What are you thinking? What do you think about this move, at least?
The rumor has it. This is the word on the street. I can't tell you where I got this from, but let's say this is that some of those private companies NVIDIA is interested in working with, and none of the public companies. So that may have been why he's done this whole thing, is because he actually still believes in quantum. But I think his theory is the same as mine, where you're going to spend billions of dollars, you're going to take tens of years to do it, and maybe you come into something and that thing will be great. And to do that, you need a massive company that can justify the R&D expense for something like that. And that is not one of these tiny little guys, right? So yeah, I keep saying, when I'm on StockTwits and I'm looking at these threads, I keep hearing it's quantum day, and all of I just see, every time I see that, I'm like, that's going to be a disappointed person. And that's what
it reminds me of. It reminds me of GME when they were doing their GME Investor Day, and things like that, right? Yeah. And so I can't blame you for thinking that way, my friend. I guess I'm just a degenerate, and I just want to trade the degenerate trade here.
Yeah, listen, that was going to be my point. Is when none of this stuff matters if you're going to be in and out in a minute. None of it. That's
the fun part of trading, right? I always love there's always going to be that professional trader that poo-poos these kind of trades. But if you're a trader that you can make money on these, dude, keep making money. You know what I mean? The idea though is, if these are the type of trades that run you over, also protect yourself on these trades, right? There's other plays in the market. There's always other plays in the market, right? I think that's also something to always keep in mind, right? Both sides of that.
Yeah, unless you're planning on holding this for hours to days, none of it, it's all pure math. It's all pure price action. You could take that name and you could replace it with just about anything, right? I know you're just focused on these because you think there's going to be volume and momentum and movement because there's an event going on. So other than that, again, it's just pure. This is why you see me focus so much on the setup and not at all on what it is or why it is or what it's doing. Because I'm hoping to be in and out in 5 minutes, right? They could, beat puppies for a living if they want. Like it doesn't. I'm gonna be in and out of this stock in minutes and just kind of move on. But yeah, the one thing I wanted to point out here just on the market is look at the Blue Line's View app. We got up the View app and pounded our head on it, and then just a couple minutes ago completely rejected from there.
Yeah, the Qs, man. The Qs isn't not Susie Q is not where it's at right now, man. I'm telling you guys. I think the big boys are a little bit worried about tech. I think they're thinking that this might not be that 30-40% year for tech, right? And with that being said, they need to be looking for gains elsewhere, right? That's why I keep focusing on those industrials and financials. I think that's the two sectors that really keep on our forefront, and just keep watching that things like you just even flipped through, right? The RSP, right? See how that keeps performing, and compare like intermarket analysis here, right? Looking deeper inside.
Just look at the strength in this, and then right. So it doesn't have to be.
Yeah. And I don't think you have to be bearish towards tech, because I think there'll still be some names that survive here. It's just the way that rotation works in tech. But it also is not, I think, the quick returns place now, where everyone used to always think that, right? Like they just immediately go to tech, and I can't blame them. But in this case, I want more of a trade that's not so high risk and can maybe just ladder up, right? Keep stair stepping higher. The financials, industrials are those types of names. So I got to watch that trade today, because those trades start to let go. And that's when we've seen the market let go too. And one thing that we got from Jerome Powell yesterday was a pretty much prolonged interest rates, and potentially those 2 rate cuts off the table.
Yeah. And it's one of those, he's looking at the inflation side of it. If he thinks the whole transitory comment, with besides the joke behind it, essentially means that he thinks that this last little blip in inflation is an anomaly, and then he'll be right back to the plan. So I think that was the biggest thing that people were both super excited about, and then maybe why it's kind of coming back in a little bit now is it was all that hype, and then he just kind of said, we're still sticking to the plan the way we talked about sticking to the plan, and we're not changing anything, and we don't see anything that's going on as that big of a deal. That was obviously is going to be a bit of a positive for the market, because it means they're not worried about inflation, which caused them to have to raise rates or something like that. So it's kind of just steady as she goes. So now it's one of those, now that that's out of the way, the market gets to focus on other things. And it's really interesting to see kind of when and what those other things are. Because when I was scanning this morning, I didn't find very much at all for the strategy. So I'm going to take at max like 4 or 5 trades today, and a lot of these already missed, right? So 5 FIVE, that would have been amazing right off the open. Kava is starting to break already here, so there wasn't a whole lot that got me super excited to take trades today. So this might be a lighter day, I think, while we wait for things to develop.
Yeah, I'm watching a trade right now that's starting to prop a little bit, the VXX trade. That's part of my watch today. I think it's just one of those things that, especially out the gates here. And there's one thing that I'm looking at, and just indicator-wise, the SPY actually doesn't look too bad on the MACD. If it could get the cross here and then start doing kind of that V bottoming look, right? And I'll give you guys the MACD, how you could see it there at the bottom, right? You see how it's kind of like trying to make the turn here and trying to go for the cross, Now I think this is a big day, right? Because if you do get to move back down even below the like that 560.75 line that I've been looking at for a while now, if we would break that, I think you'll start to see this blue line, right? You might see it start to expand back away, right? Versus going for the cross. So I think today's that big day where if it's the opposite, right? If we go back through like, let's say 570 on the upside, this could cross over. And thus you'll start seeing other traders start to be like, well, all right, well, this ain't looking too bad. But one of the things that I look at is the RSI also. The RSI kind of really turning around here. So I know that we haven't really been going, too much higher, but that was a little bit of a not wanting to get back to the trend line, not wanting to get back to like those 50s here that I'll keep an eye out for. Of course, indicators for me is just trying to give me some description on what I'm seeing. Maybe I'm seeing price action, but I want to maybe use some of these to just continue to watch to see maybe when do I get the signal that yes, bulls are in. Yes, the price action showing me that, and the indicators are also showing me that to try to keep myself safe in a point like this, right? Because the uncertainty is as high as can be. I think right now you got mixed battle from bulls and the bears out there.
Yeah, and that's what I think a lot. And, just to kind of reiterate your point and some of the hedge fund folk that I've been talking to, which I still just kind of keep up with from my hedge fund days. A lot of them during this they cleared the decks, right? And that's something that hedge funds can do that, mutual funds and ETFs and all this stuff can't, where, when this fall was starting and when this was happening, I know at least two that talked to me and just said, the manager just came in and said, clear the decks, just everything off, everything, right? Dump everything. We're going to cash. We're going to wait. And now they're waiting to see, just like you mentioned, we had a nice bounce, but like we've talked about all the time is that we knew this bounce was coming. The question is this just a bear flag? And do we just roll over here? Or when we came in on this day, did we actually get in, right? Was that a pullback that got bought up? Because if the pullback got bought up and we start to push from here, then I think that could be, a tradable bottom, at least a bottom for a long period of time. However, if, we just roll over and die from here, then yeah, that was just a big flash in the pan flag. So I expect sideways consolidation action for days to weeks at this point, just while people try to figure out exactly what's happening next. It doesn't feel like, and it could be, it doesn't feel like one of those V recovery moments like we've had, back here and over here and back down here. This seems like one that they want to digest a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see if we test the 200-day moving average from the downside, whether that ends up being something of interest to play off of. But yeah, it feels like there's going to be a little bit of indecision and, chop back and forth and just waiting for either the bulls or bears here to get a win.
Shane talking about, especially probably small cap intended here, that pre-market is dead this morning, gearing up to be a no trade day for him, and that by the look of things. So going to sit here and watch the passing, the eval yesterday. Congrats also, Shane. I wasn't able to give you the shout out while I was doing the interview, but I gave you the shout out in the chat. Like I mentioned, man, good call on taking a little bit of a step back from the funded account and going after another eval, right? And then you got your confidence back, I'm sure, from doing that, right? And now you can start stepping back in. The one thing I always say is day one, when you going back to an account, I personally like to go in it a little light, right? Because the idea is, to me, especially after I went to make a confidence move, is to see green on the screen, right? There's something that's psychological about that, guys. It doesn't need to be big green, but there's something about just seeing green, right? It's that psychological thing that was instilled in us since we were kids, that green means go and red means no, right? And those types of things are so important. So I think sometimes just coming in with a little bit of a lighter approach, because your focus is more just to end green and not risk big on the first trade, very important. Start getting that underneath your feet. Get the feelings back in the funded account now versus just the eval, right? And that's what I mean there, is get that feeling back into the market and get after it, my friend. Wish you the best of luck, Shane, and we'll see if there's some bigger names that pop up today. Two names in the small caps, ADTX and WINT. Those are the only two that I like today. A big part of that is also the volume that I'm seeing in the pre-market. 10 million shares traded in WINT and 2.38 in ADTX. So if I look at these when I'm not seeing many move, I'm only looking at the high volume names, because if there are going to be moves, it's going to come from the ones that can rotate the float, right? So looking at the float of these can also help you catch those moves. Gold, I love gold. What's going on with gold, my friend?
So I'm watching. So, we mentioned that the game plan next, right? The next strategy that I'm working on, now that I have this AVWAP fade one, I'm confident, as long as I am disciplined enough and trade it small enough, that over the long run, it will do well. It will make money. So, of course, your brain instantly goes to automating that strategy and then looking for the next one. We talked about this a lot yesterday. I think I want to do something with ETFs and large cap stocks. And I think I just want to do basic technical analysis on them and then use alerts for entry and exit. I kind of see this, right? We had this massive move, and I put a tweet on this. It's probably easier if we do look at the future here. And I talked about this yesterday. So gold has obviously been on fire, right? This thing's just been an absolute rocket ship lately. And then yesterday we put in this massive pop, and you can see this huge zone that we've had here on gold, here and here. Then we spent some time above it, and then now we're fading back down. So I'm watching gold here to actually see if we end up breaking lows or something like that. And the idea is that I'm going to start doing this analysis on the futures, coming up with some game plans, and then just entering those orders with, these are going to be intraday swing trades, unlike the other ones that are short-term scalps. Like, I'm planning on possibly shorting gold and holding it for the entire day, if I can. So really wide stops, really low risk, but just looking for a potential explosive move every now and then, which the reason that I'm doing that is that's going to contrast greatly with my other strategy, which I'm in and out looking for one-to-one scalps, right? So that's the biggest thing, is that when you're looking for new strategies, you want them to be as different as possible from your other ones. So yeah, gold is one that I'm interested. If we start to break down this level, this kind of 3,030 on there, which if you go to GLD would be, they call it 279-ish. On this zone, that to me is going to just be an interesting short, just looking at this overall kind of arching pattern. And then we use the power of stocks, where we could trade something like Dust, I found, which is a 2x
Duster.
This is gold miners. It's not the ETF, but it's probably going to move pretty similar to it, especially on an intraday basis. So that's the idea, is to use the futures for the analysis, use the ETFs and the leveraged ETFs for just trading. And, kind of like, this is an idea I got from you, Mitch, where you said, okay, well, you do really good long-term analysis on things. Maybe you should be trading those. So that's why you see a 30-minute chart here. Right?
Yeah, I love that. I love that, Michael. And that's the way I think, if you're a swing trader, why change the mentality, right?
Yeah.
Find ways to day trade those swing trades. And if anything, leave a runner. Leave a runner. You have some overnight buying power. It doesn't need to be big, right? The only key thing is, of course, once you leave that runner, you need to come back in the after hours a little bit to watch it, because that's the one thing that can really kind of wreck you overnight, kind of catalyst, things like that. But that's the way I think about it. And I know a lot of traders that change like that, right? They day trade, and sometimes if the position just goes that well and it's going well, they're leaving that runner on, and it changes that little amount to a swing trade, right? And then they're able to expand wins and push like another, 4 rewards on that smaller amount, right? And essentially trading with the house's money. These are things that we got to be thinking about, right? How can we combine it, right? And I know they're working on kind of new swing accounts, hint, that we'll be kind of figuring out right now. They're on coming soon. So that makes me excited. I know that makes you excited, Michael, because we do want to kick that off and really get to the next level. And part of that is also understanding that, hey, so when we get to our bigger account, like we're going to, because I know Michael and I are going to be going for one of these bigger accounts real soon. I think part of that also is going to be, okay, so we've got 10%. That's still $20K to use overnight.
Exactly. And that was kind of the genesis of the idea, was these new accounts is if I'm going to have access to $200,000 and an unlimited time to pass, Well, yeah, I just want to make these longer term bets, and longer terms again means 30-minute candles, right? So, not betting for whatever, but you're right. If I'm right about gold, so say for example, gold breaks through here, and then just I'm right, and I'm wrong if we get back above this kind of line. But say I'm right, and gold sells all day, and it ends right down here. Well, now I could just, like you mentioned, on my dust, I can take most of the position off of that $200,000 buying power, get 20 grand overnight. So, you can hold not all 20 grand worth, but maybe you hold $10,000 or so of this DUSD. And then if I'm right and this thing trends for a couple days, that swing trade that now I have no risk on, because at that point I'm moving my stop to some sort of break even. I can continue to just trend all day long. And this is actually how, and I need to get him on the show. I need to reach out to him. But this is actually how Brian Shannon, who's been doing this for, I talk about these OGs, doing this forever. It's exactly how he does. He does every single swing trade he enters, starts with a good day trade. And that's his rules. His stop loss always goes on the intraday time frame, on the 1 minute chart is how he enters his trade, with the full intention of holding them. But usually he says he's out a third to a half of that position at the end of the day. And that's someone who's going in with the intention of the thing being a swing trade. Because his idea is that, if I don't get a good day trade, then I'm just not off to a good mental start on the position. If it's red by the end of the day that I got into it, I'm just going to get out and try again tomorrow.
I agree. That's how I went about my swing trades when I was really kind of beating the market, right? I haven't really been doing that portfolio since then, but that was the way to do it. It was thinking always like today is all about the entry and day trade. Once I'm in and I can handle the first day is so important, because if you can get that, usually you're looking at a daily chart, a lot of these swing trades, right? And if you get that nice green trade into a long, right? Now the bulls start looking at those charts usually like, oh, these look a lot better. But then you're in that position of strength now for that day 2, day 3 style move, right? And that's what we all look for as swing traders, to really get that momentum early, because then you're in that position of power. You don't even feel the risk. And that's what I think you and I love swing trading, because there's those moments where, yes, the first day was tough, right? Getting the entry and keeping the risk that day. But from that moment, you start feeling a lot more confident. And then you start getting into like away from your position, and you can go more like break even, and then the stress is just completely off. That's when I talk about letting the market do the work for you, right? Let the market heavy lift for you. Your job as a swing trader a lot is the entry and risk. After that, it's just let the market do the work and see if it gets the rewards, right?
Yeah. So, and you notice too, what the plan is here, multiple strategies, right? So my AVWAP fade strategy, that's in and out a few minutes. It's 1-to-1 risk reward. It's scalping. Now we're talking about potentially intraday swing trading. So taking a trade, and you'll notice these will take up different time frames. So that first half an hour, that's where I've really nailed down that this opening strategy kind of works, the AVWAP fade. So that I'll be focused on that. And then after that first half an hour, when things kind of chill out, that's when I'll start focusing on these intraday swings. And then, like Mitch mentioned, right into the close, that's when you come back and you look at the things that you're potentially going to be swinging over. So again, the beauty with Trade the Pool is that if you have a day trade account and a swing trade account, you can kind of manage both. And that's, again, for me, I've been, pounding the table on this in years. I'll probably do it till I'm dead. But I believe the single, if there is a holy grail in trading, it is trading multiple strategies, incredibly small, knowing that one strategy is always going to be on fire and the rest of them are always going to be crap, right? So you're just managing the, I want to make sure that I've got 10 strategies, and if 5 of them are performing and 5 of them are underperforming, that if I'm managing risk correctly, by the end of the day, I'm still okay. I'm still making money, right? So that's the idea. Strategy 1 is not done. You're never done with the strategy. You still always want to be monitoring and tweaking and that kind of thing. But I'm fairly confident that, again, with a low enough risk over time, it will do well. So now it's, okay, what's next and what's next and what's next? Because days like today, I think, is a perfect example. there's nothing really on this list I'm super excited about, like at all. Like nothing I'm watching here. I'm like, oh, I'm really excited to take this particular trade. Right, 5 I've already missed. Kava I've already missed. ACN's a little too expensive. Tiger looks like I may have already missed. Right, Tesla, kind of, and then these two crazy ones that you mentioned, this ADTX and WINT. I'll watch them, but I just don't have as much success with these names as I do with the other ones.
It's going to be an interesting one today, guys. I mean, the 3 things that I felt like were data points versus what was the focus of course, a lot of the talking heads on transitory and the conversation that he gave. Jerome, man, to me, it scared me that you're now seeing core inflation projected at 2.8, seeing inflation going higher, and you're still saying that word transitory, right? That is a very, very scary sign. Could be his green span moment. I'm just going to say that much. That's not what I wanted to hear. At least if I'm thinking that the markets are coming right back up. So the 3 bearish signs for me, the growth downgraded. We all knew that. Giles out there, you were listening. You got it right, my friend. That GDP was a big concern, and it was downgraded there. And then just to add to it, the conversation of potentially no rate cuts. 3 negatives, yet 1 positive in the rhetoric. To me, that is not a dovish moment. Everyone was saying they were dovish here. I'm really looking underneath the hood, and I feel like it was really hawkish, actually. And that's where I think the market might have gotten it wrong yesterday. And the way that reacts is because everyone's like, the algos were trying to jump on the conversation. And then now the economists, especially the bigger guys that are focusing on the overall market for longer term, are going to see these moments. And I think that there's definitely talk out there that those are 3 signs of negative versus maybe the talk that it's transitory and that we're going to be okay kind of conversation. I don't know about that one. And then his rhetoric has been changed. It's no longer just straight up. It's we might be in pain first. So that's my concern. They're slowly turning a bear right back to a big bear. I'll tell you one thing. And that's moments where you guys can also see whipsaws to the upside. So I'm not saying just rely on the bearish conversation, but I'm also trying to bring in more like actual points, right? Not just conversation. And to me, that inflation being revised up and core inflation excluding energy. So you're telling me if energy goes higher, we're already getting inflation. And then there was a little quote that was really interesting in what he said there. He said that there was something else there. He said that inflation has started to move up now, partly in response to the tariffs. What else is moving this inflation higher? I don't know, Michael. I'll say it. I don't know what it is. I don't think a lot of people know. But why include that partly word there? You know what I mean?
To appease the boss, maybe. Maybe that's
it's a tough one, man. It's a tough one.
A lot of people are thinking, just saying, "Hey, he's saying partly because he doesn't want to fully blame the boss and have a bad time, right?"
Yeah.
What's interesting? So yeah, the current rate is 4.25 to 4.5, right? That's the current rate. So I grabbed this. This is the Fed Watch or the CME Fed Watch tool. So this is people actually trading the target futures to say, okay, this is what they think is going to happen by the end of the year. So long way to go. Obviously, it's the beginning of the year. Most people think it's going to be maybe only a quarter point lower to a half point lower, right, throughout, where there's, the low end of the probabilities are saying that basically we're going to be here to slightly lower. Here to 1 point lower is where most people are putting their bets to say that's what's happening. And this was significantly lower before. I think this was hovering around 3 to 2.75. So this has shifted up quite a bit just to say, hey, by the end of the year, we think we're maybe getting 1% down. That's where the kind of the balance of probabilities are sitting right now. So yeah, there's a lot of people out there that are are changing their mind, I guess, when it comes to. And of course, that's right. The end of the year, there's a lot of things that can happen between now and then. But just interesting to see that that's way different than it was even just a little bit ago.
Right now, I'm watching a trade right here, the SQQQ trade. I think it's really nice on the hourly. Look at the hourly here, guys, and I'll go to the 15, but look at the hourly. Hourly, really nice kind of flagging action, starting to pick back up. MACD crossed over here. I think it's leaving room for a little bit of a run here, at least off the gates here. So what I'm looking for, we just cracked 37. We're at 37.33s. I want to see a slight undercut of the 37 and then a recovery of that level here if I want to go for a little bit of a quick trade here against the cubes. We'll find out here. Let's get after it, guys. Markets open. Be safe out there. And like always, you know what time it is, guys. It's time. Let's go. All right, guys.
Yeah, we are open. First moves down. Q's getting close to the pre-market lows.
Yeah, SQQQ just pushed there. No pullback there to the 37 right now, towards 37.50s right now almost. Let's see if it breaks that 37.50 pre-market high action around the 37.59. Watching to see what happens there. QUBT starting to get a little bit of lift. I'm looking at those names as quick pops and then we'll probably sell into them. QUBT getting a little pop off of that $8 hold here. So let's see if it can make a run here. We'll see if I take a trade on that one. I'd have to risk right off of $8.
$8 too high there. Even the SPY is getting close to pre-market lows. So everything's coming down to test that pre-market lows, which is hilarious because I think we are right. Yeah, we're pretty much right at where the Fed decided that their results, right? We haven't changed. We haven't moved at all from that initial conversation. So all the hype that happened yesterday is all reversed today. We're sitting right at that zone. So essentially all of that hype, that Fed hype for nothing.
QUBTS probably one of the stronger moves of the quantum names out the gates, like a 30-cent pop here towards the 1060, starting to make the move there. So I think it might lead QUBT there. Yeah, QUBTS definitely leading here right out the gates here. So I'm good looking to maybe jump on QUBT here. Would love a pullback here towards 810s or 805, but let's see what happens. So I'll show you QUBTS, little push in there. Qs. Oh, I XLE right out the gates, down. That's one thing to watch, right? XLI down also. Keep watch on those sectors too. We'll be talking about it here to see what happens there. I'm watching those 15 minutes on the XLF all out to 49.25 support there. Wicks. QUBT holding here now 830 is doing pretty well here. I'd like to see one more pullback here to undercut some of these guys going back towards 8, but we'll see what happens.
All right, so there is, let me grab this. First trade in, and again, these ones I'm less excited about because they just don't seem to work as cleanly, but ADTX, you can see again the blue arrow right off the open. This one's been struggling to get through pre-market highs. And this is this crazy one that, you zoom out, it's worth like $200 billion a share at its height. So eventually, likely these things are going to sell off. So took a little bit of a short there. Again, just looking for a one-to-one risk reward. And you can see TIGR was alerted as well, but not really too interested in that one. Again, just not super excited about a lot of the things that are happening on this list today. So
it's a nice little pop in the TQQQ, just to mention that.
Yes. So yeah, that's a nice little pop. That's over this pre-market, not pre-market high, but pre-market range here. And this is the other one. You can see I actually have it on my list because I might just trade this based off of that same idea if we end up getting that.
All right, looking for one pullback here on QUBT to get long. It just broke towards like the 836, 837 range. So I'm thinking stops around the 815s. I'm going to look for an undercut on them and see if it can recover through these levels. Looking around to see what else is starting to make a trade there. Energy starting to come back a little bit there. SPY a little weaker. Let me see the cues here. Let's take a look at the sectors here from the open. Utilities, cyclical, and technology leading. A little interesting there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if this breakout holds, because that was a bit of a flush off the open, pops through there, triggers potential buy. Same with Tesla, right? And if I see Tesla, I'm going to take TSLL. The reason I keep having Tesla on watch is A, it's super volatile, and B, it's kind of right at resistance. And this, again, is something I might watch a little bit more, is just to see if the increased volatility makes these worthwhile just to leave on a list.
All right, guys, taking a quick trade here on to the SQQQ. Going to risk about $30 here to see if we can get a lift off again. Remember, I mentioned out the gates of an undercut at 37 and coming back up. So I'm looking to see if I can grab that right here. We'll see if I get cut out here at the 77s.
The 2-day VWAP on the Qs, just if you're wanting to know that, is basically 480, right? So that's obviously going to be important if that comes into play for the SQQQs. It's just a one-for-one inverse.
QBTS, the best move I've seen out the gates here, almost 11 now from 1025. So good pop there, about 6.25%.
There's 5 below triggering as well, but there's just not enough room between that and the 2-day VWAP to be interesting. So I'm going to skip that one. The only one I've taken so far is this ADTX, and of course this one's not working out. There seems to be something, and I don't know why. It seems to be this particular strategy less impactful on a lot of these crazier ones. So again, not excited to chase them. Kava is interesting to me. It's coming back up. There's the VWAP from IPO. So it's bouncing up to that zone. A little bit of a push today on some more positive news and upgrade, which generally doesn't mean too much. So sometime above VWAP, we can sell off. But ACN is the only thing that's really standing out here as something good. Qs continuing to pop a little bit. We're holding above this area good. I'll just be interested to see what happens when we get to the 2-day VWAP. SPY, we have some underperformance off the open there. So one of those days seems like it's a little bit more of a tech day, at least for now, than anything else.
All right, limiting my risk now as I'm coming back to break even at $26 here, and I'm going right back to break even. Going to look to see if the SQQs can break the 37 and start to get the pop there. The thing was washout at the open and then a recovery, so that's what I'm looking for. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, it does seem weird, right? I'm just, like always, and this is always what I recommend to people, is do your analysis on the thing that matters, which is the Qs, and then take the trade on, right, the SQQQ or the TQQQ, just because the prices will be a little bit different just based off of, the fact that there's some liquidity constraints, that kind of thing. Does seem kind of weird that we didn't come in to even test this 576 or 575 and a half liquidity there on the open. So that'll be interesting. I'm really watching here on the 2-day VWAP, sitting right there. So
yeah, it's pretty close here, guys. I'm probably going to get cut out of the first trade here, and I'm going to be okay to get back in. I'll just watch to see that 37. Let's see if it recovers. QBTS, really nice move there. QBT just made that pullback that I was kind of looking towards the 815s, just went back to the 830s immediately. We'll see what happens here with those quantum names.
Oil is interesting here. Right? This will be another one to potentially, like the long-term chart sitting there, but a little bit of a sell off the open on oil. Again, watching this gold bounce up. So this will be the idea again, if to try to, so this is we're testing, we're taking a look at as well, right? We're just watching these names to to see if this is something I'm interested in, right? So I've planned out my trade. So it'll probably just be like a 30-minute opening range break on some of these, just a very basic entry. But the idea is that the analysis is done on the longer term chart. So I am watching again gold here to potentially the downside.
Might get triggered here. It keeps going right near my stop and turning back around, guys. So just noting that price action there.
So TSLA or Tesla has triggered. So I
should be pushing here a little bit. We'll see if they can continue the lift.
So I've bought some TSLL. Again, I just don't see a reason not to trade the leveraged ETFs, and I can just trade them smaller and take the same risk anyway. So I don't see, especially for intraday trading and even for short-term swing, I just don't know why you wouldn't. Right? You just get to commit a little bit less capital to the overall trade. So again, the stop here is just right at these lows that I've highlighted, just right in this area. And then again, targeting 1-to-1, and then the ADTX. That's just kind of flopping around there. And Kava's trying to trigger here, but it's just not. The thing I liked about Kava is just an upgrade, right? Those sometimes aren't impactful at all. You get these upgrades and downgrades, and there's some movement off the open or off the pre-market, and then it all just fades back in because they're like, oh yeah, these guys don't know anything, so I don't have to be super excited about it.
QUBT hanging on there. QUBTS definitely having a better move there, but we'll see what happens here. If it can continue making the move, will the quantums make the lift today? We'll find out here. WINT into the $3 spot. So that just broke 3. That's doing pretty well as a name that I mentioned earlier today. ADTX, that one's hanging off of the 1140s. Could recover 12 today, but a lot of battles above towards 12. So also could fade here off the VWAP, off the 1150s. I'd give it that chance to get to 12 one more time, and then we'll look to see if later in the day we can go for a short on this. But I'll be watching it.
Hope it doesn't wait for you to take that short. I am short. But again, you can see as I go through and I just wanted to highlight this to people. I'm just removing them from my list because the idea is I want to take one trade on each of these names if I get the setup I want, and I'm going for a 1-to-1. I may extend that over time to a 1.5-to-1, that kind of thing. But it's a one and done with these trades. I want to take the trade. I want to move on with my life. And then the idea is over time, if I'm batting a 55-60% win rate with a 1-to-1, and I have this thing very systematized, that ends up being a really good trading strategy, right? This isn't the one that's going to make you rich, right? The point is 55 to 60% win rate on a 1-to-1 risk reward. You're taking singles after singles after singles. Eventually, you look down at your account and you've got a couple grand in there that you can do a withdrawal, and then you do it again. That's the goal anyway. So ACN is one that I'm interested in. This one I'm going to take, according to this position sizer, 5 whole shares on this guy, but again, it doesn't matter. Size.
QBTS ripping now towards 1096.
Futures, the Qs are holding in. I was kind of with you. What I expected, at least for them to test the liquidity down here, at least do like one of those.
Yeah, 945 coming right now. So I'm a little bit on flip alert here. We'll see what happens. 945, right? Big spot here.
And we're right to that's it. Just knocking on the door. Not only a 2-day VWAP, but I have the futures up here as well. And this is the futures, the VWAP from the futures open are both sitting right here on the Qs. So if we are going to reverse, this seems like a good area to potentially do that.
I think we might get one more pullback in QUBT. It's building up like a kind of a rule of 3 kind of flag pattern here. I'd look for one more pullback attempt and then to see if it rips above the 830s here. But QBTS is giving me more of that sign. Rigetti's not going anywhere. That's one thing to note. QMCO trying to recover. IonQ just hanging out. So QBTS has been kind of the only quantum name that's been able to hold some gains today.
Yeah, well, this, I think I tried to Google why this one was moving so much compared to the rest, and I think it's just the fact it's got a lower float is the
Always
if you
helps.
it always helps those insane moves when you're just passing shares around people. I just wish
All
I
right.
had the guts.
Back
I
into the
don't.
SQQQs, taking another shot here. I want to risk about 10, 15 cents here. Let's see what happens. It's going to be more a matter of can we get back above the 37s here. Looking for a bullish engulfing candle here to see if we can start to get above that 3690s and start to make the move here. We'll see what happens. This is a quick one. Just going at it, 200 shares again. Kind of a measured trade again, $30 risk. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. So you can see how it smacked its head right on that 2-day VWAP, to like the penny, and then now it's reversing from here, right? So anyone who says these things don't work, I don't know what to tell you. If it holds, who knows? But it got there and just reversed instantly from that price. So it shows at least there's some amount of sellers that are taking place at that area.
Yeah, getting tested right now, guys. Might get washed out of here. This could be the liquidity test, but I'm getting hit hard here. Got to get out. There you go. Just set the wrist there. Out. Boom. Getting hit there, guys. And there's that ADTX 12 alert.
Yeah, so I just got stopped out of that position there.
Boom. And it was a drive through 12. And a nice wick through there. 1244s now. Big pop there, guys. Getting hit hard today, guys. Down about 94 right out the gates here. 2 shots on the SQQQ. I got one more strike to give here. Got to hold on for a little bit. Got to bounce back, guys.
Yeah, so I'm still watching the Qs here. Again, if we just take a VWAP, and we can do this, the MNQs, just to show. If we do a VWAP from that recent bounce high, we're right below that. But if we go back to there, you can see we're battling this 2-day VWAP here. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in this zone. Again, a lot of wiggle, a lot of jiggle on some of this, especially off the open here. But looks like, again, a strong recovery. So if we start getting back up anywhere near this zone and breaking through that area, it just shows that all of this sell-off this morning was just more games, right? And this is what we talked about. This is what we want to see. I mean, this is a 30-minute chart ever since the lows here. You want to see buyers coming in at higher and higher and higher prices. That's what a recovery happens, right? And that's what we're seeing for now anyway. Doesn't have to stay that way forever, but for now we're seeing guys come in at higher prices continuously, which again is great. So a lot of room to go to recover even to the pre-market high, but it's one of those things that overall, right, on the daily chart, that's what we're loving to see, is that people are coming in at higher prices to buy stocks. Can't be bearish if that's what's going on.
QUBT went for a little bit of a pop there. We'll look to see if it actually gets it. It kind of got stuffed right into the move off of the 830s here.
These smaller ones, again, that ADTX stop out, just kind of, again, proving to me that it's just not, I don't want to take the smaller names on this. I know there's a lot of people out there who trade these small and micro caps and they do fine doing them, but I don't think it's me. So TIGR, we all know that this is one of Steve's lovely favorites. It's getting
Tigger.
Little gap down today. China in general, a little gap down today, but looks like it could be recovering here. So I'm going to add that one to the list as well. As you can see, it triggers through here, which it is. It's just an overall strong name. This one moved 2 days ago massively from $8 to $10. So it had a huge pop on it. So if this can hold here and then print a little green arrow, and that's one that I'm interested in. And again, also ACN, which I'm going to take that WINT off before I do something like trade it. So yeah, I'm watching this one. and the ACN, and then again Kava. The Qs I just didn't take, so I missed that one. So if anything, that's got to come off. And that's, again, this is the process. As I'm going through, I'm just removing names from the list, until eventually there's nothing there. And that means I've taken my one shot on every idea that I've had. And then I'm either up for the day or down for the day. Right? And we move on to the next one.
Starting to see some pullbacks out there. We'll see what happens here. If we can get a little bit further pullbacks. ADTX keeps going back towards that $12. Feels like there's a heavy seller above 12s here. So looking to see if that's going to get the whoosh right back down here. There's a lot of volume that came in on that pop, about 500,000 shares.
Right, so Tiger, you see, this is why I wait for that candle close. It looked like it was going to break through, and didn't. Came back down. Kava right here, and then so the only trade I have on is the Tesla, and it just hasn't moved. It hasn't gone up, hasn't gone down. So I got my stop down here somewhere, and that'll either go to target, and if that goes to target with the loss I had on the other one, then it'll be an okay-ish day, assuming none of these other ones trigger, which there's a chance. Again, I want to do most of these in the first half hour, and just to be done with this particular setup, and then we're going to take another look at gold and see if there's a potential trade to have there for the rest of the day, or maybe even a swing. But the Qs, just there's still flirting around that 2-day VWAP, but there's just no.
All right, guys, liking WINT here, thinking about taking it off the 290s. I would like a 3 pullback here to get long, but it's hanging on the 310s here. I got to make the call. Let's see if I can get this little pullback here off the 90 MA.
Make those lines thicker, but yeah, you see just battling the 2-day
down action coming in those quantum names.
So it'll be interesting. Is this just a rest and it's digesting the 2-day VWAP, or is the 2-day VWAP actually going to act as resistance here, and then we maybe come back here and touch VWAP?
Slight hesitation there on WINT. It's starting to rise there, guys. I had to trade there. I just got to it like literally on the second. I hate when I get to trades like on the decision-making second. So WINT was right on this $3 support there on the 90 MA. I was watching it on the 1, and it went sideways on that 1, tried to undercut, did the liquidity thing right here. So it was at 310 as I was looking for maybe a 3 entry pullback. It just hung out on that 310, now jumping towards the 330s. So wasn't a bad look. I just got to it like the moment right before the order there. QUBT getting the wipeout look there. So look at that, guys. That's a nice undercut there. Washed out a lot of people after that QBTS. Big move to the 11. Look how quickly it's going to the 1030s. So that, definitely.
The panel's not till later today, though, right?
1 p.m.
Yeah. So it's weird. You would expect, if anything, the degens to be pushing these things up into the panel and then to sell the news. So it'll be interesting. And the Qs just can't. It's stuck to this 2-day VWAP, right? I'll just show you here.
Yeah,
like it's
we reject it. No,
this 2-minute candle, just popping just one way or the other. So it's one of those things that it's either digesting this. There's definitely some amount of selling that's taking place at this zone. Yeah, there it goes. So it's either going to digest that selling and have a big push up, or right, it could start to move, could fight this. If it loses this fight for long enough, then you think it's going to come down and then maybe retest this level right here. But it looks like it could be resolving here to the upside. So again, strong day for the Qs. Could be a strong day for a lot of things out there if they continue to push. Which I think everyone came a little bit spooked off the open. There's the SPY hitting that 2-day VWAP as well. So the SPY was a little bit laggy. It didn't rocket through that pre-market high quite like the Qs did. So a little bit of lag there on that. But, it looks doing it now anyway. So that's struggling at the 2-day VWAP. The Qs are a little bit above, but it's still fighting. And we don't have anything going on today, right?
No, not much.
Existing home sales 5. It's showing as a
Yeah.
3-star.
One thing that I'm looking at right now, guys, I'm taking a look. XLI starting to capture a little bit of support by there. Watching to see what happens on that. XLF doing a little bit better. So that's a good sign to see on the XLF, of course, for the banks.
Ooh, yeah. It's a big push up there in XLF. Really. So that's weird. So XLF is outperforming, but the Qs are still doing better here than the SPY. Interesting.
Yeah, what's leading into the Qs? That's what you want to watch. So, what are the top names in the Qs? China names I'm seeing. I see PDD having a really good day, guys. PDD. Ooh, that's a nice little undercut and rally on PDD. That's an interesting one. I think they had earnings and they straight up like washed everybody out on that earnings, and it's coming back ramping. It's coming back after the cut down. So big move there, guys. PDD, look at this, guys. Undercutting back to 115, now back to 130s.
Wow.
That's a big whoosh. This is what I mean by washing people out, right? So huge wick on the daily, where if you bought on all that 90 MA, you were looking for that flag action. When this morning, you probably were looking at your chart, you were long somewhere in this spot, and you watched it go like completely back towards the support. You probably got stopped out because you were like, man, this is just too much risk for me in the pre-market. And now the stock's right back, right? So they call that sometimes key reversals, right? And so that's a key reversal back to the upside in PDD.
So I took my 5 shares of ACN.
How's Baidu doing today? Ooh, catching a little love on the 95s.
Green arrow there. This is the best looking setup, I think, of that I had all day. Just because, I've talked about this a lot. I want a gap down. I want separation from the 1-day VWAP, the 2-day VWAP. I want to spend a lot of time under that VWAP. So that 2-day VWAP is 13. So we're going to target a little under that, 310. And again, this is the beauty of this position sizer that I have right here. It just says, hey, yeah, take it, but you can only take 5 shares, which is, $300 stock. But again, who cares, right? The risk is going off this $25 risk per trade. So if I'm right, I'll make, 30, 40 bucks. If I'm wrong, I'll lose that 25 bucks. So just, again, don't be afraid of expensive stocks. So they're just more volatile, right? So the only thing that you have to be afraid of, I guess, with expensive stocks is if you're looking at something that's both expensive and not moving, right? Because it just means you're taking way lower size in something that's not moving at all. So I'll take that one. If there was an option to do something like with this TSLL, which again I'm in and it's just not doing anything, I would do that, but there's just not, right? There's no opportunity to do that. So I just have to take. I got to take the full-fledged stock. So that's the only. So those 2 trades are what I got on now, and then again I took that ADTX after telling you guys that I probably shouldn't, and I ended up getting stopped out there. So I may give this just one more shot, because what I want to start exploring is it that the system doesn't work well on these low floaters, or is it that they're too crazy off the open? So it might be one of those things where the lower float stocks, I wait a bit. I wait a few minutes and say, okay, let's,
spread also not helping, right, on this name. So
yeah.
So another thing to look into, Michael, is at least from what I've seen, the clear moves in these smaller ones are going to be where the tight spread, right? Where you got a 1 to 2 cent spread, and here you're getting a easily 10 to 11 cent spread, and so that's going to cause some more volatility.
Well, and especially with the goals of what I'm doing, a large spread is great, is fine if you're planning on holding for a long period of time, where your entry doesn't really matter as much. For me, I'm trying to get in and out. My entry really matters, right? I'm trying to take a 1-to-1.
There's a cut down towards the 12. I'm thinking about maybe taking a trade on ADTX also on the short side here. But what I'm looking for is one more attempt towards that 1230 or 1240s, and then it has to get stuffed like quick. Here it is, literally 1240s coming quickly. So I'm not taking the trade until it really breaks 12. That's what I talked about for the short side of things. If not, the squeeze could come to 13, and there's a gap close towards 13.28. So if there's up move, that's where I see the up move. Down move, I could see it coming right back towards the 11 and maybe a little lower. There it is. There's that cut down. You see that, guys? Did you guys see that? Man, that's kind of the action that I needed to see there. Now I'm just looking to see if I can get 12s. I need a 12 entry there. If I don't get a 12 entry, it's not worth it to me. See if I can get a 12 entry, guys.
There. Tesla moving higher, finally. Little break there. So hopefully that will turn out well. Qs, right? Still pull back, still battling. That might be the second attempt that gets us through that VWAP, though.
Yeah, there's
so
definitely
that's a better look now.
To me, there's a bigger shorter building a position above 12, essentially, in this ADTX. The bigger short position under 12. Because every time it goes to 12, it just gets run into. So we'll see what happens here if I'm able to get an entry. Got to get out of it just for a second because my limit's just sitting there, and I hate when it's sitting there. That's an easy way of where it comes above where I want it to get to. So I'm looking at the bid action right now.
So that's 11. So I'm going to start, I believe, cutting out, turning off this strategy for that first half hour of the day. So anything I didn't take, I don't think I'm going to. All
right, giving it a chance here to squeeze, and then I'm down to get it short. But I just got to wait for the action to come back down. All right there's the first entry I can get into, which would be 1180s. I take that as a starter with 100 shares just to give myself a protection here. Spread is widening out. That's not a good thing.
Spread. Ooh, 20 cents spread. Yeah.
That's what I was telling you guys about. So with these names, that's the one thing that you got to be a little bit careful about when you're starting to see spreading out. They're trying to take liquidity, right? And so they can expand the range. And that's exactly what happened on that prior candle, right? An expanded range. Went from 1240s down towards the 65s. So essentially expand the range so they can take liquidity.
Yeah, with so right, you see the watch list is empty now. So the plan is, now that I've gotten to this point where the watch list is empty, I've got my TSLL and my ACN. Those are the two trades I got on right now. And so now it'll be time to move on to potentially looking at some of these futures, quote unquote, but to play it with ETFs, right? So the big one I'm watching right here is MGC, so gold, right? I'm looking at the micros, but it doesn't really matter. So I'm looking at gold here to see if we end up breaking this low. That's a trade I want to make. And then the beauty of it is right click, an alert there, and now I have an alert on gold if it ends up getting near that price. And when that happens, or if that happens, my game plan is to go to, like we talked about, dust, which is the 2x gold miners, and then buy a little bit of that, because gold miners and gold are going to move somewhat similar. But in the meantime, I'm going to look for a 3x.
AU is a nice chart for momentum play, at least there. I was seeing it pulling back. It was like a little bullish setup there. I haven't taken a look at it in like a couple minutes here, but AU is one I really like to trade, guys.
UGL, I just learning about. It's an ultra short gold. So I could trade that. I think that's it.
Dogs are barking. Dogs are barking, guys. That means the bears might be out there.
Uh-oh.
All right, guys. Looking to see if this ADTX starts the real cut down here, guys. I could add to this position, but I'm going to just stay at the 100 shares to protect myself because it's a tough one. It's a tough one, guys.
There's GLL I just learned about. So this beauty is just do some Googling. So if I get my gold trigger, I just have a note here. I'm going to bring up GLL. I'm going to take a short, and the stop is going to be super wide stop. Because again, these are I want to hold these for the day. I want to basically spend I spent the first half hour of the day building or doing this scalp, right? And that scalp's just kind of, that's sorted, and I don't need to think about it anymore. And now it's okay. Now I want to build these positions on things that I like from, you know, this kind of longer term type of point of view. Like one that I'm looking at as well is oil here. So this is the view app from this major high in oil. This is the view app from major low in oil. And if we start to get through that zone, that might be another trade to take. And of course, there's going to be leveraged oil ETFs to take as well. So again, it's just an idea I'm going through. The problem is it's not very systematized, very discretionary on what I pick and why. But because will have so much time to do the analysis on them, I'm more confident with that, because I'm going to spend a while taking a look at them and seeing something to potentially take a trade on. Right?
It's taking too long for this ADTX, guys. Ticking time bomb starting to click here.
And then I can do the same thing with so all these futures. I'll continue to expand these out, but here's the Bitcoin, right? So do I trade something like an IBIT with this strategy as well? If I end up liking an area, watching this in the Bitcoin futures, so do I set an alert there? And then if that breaks out, I can buy IBIT. Is there a leveraged Bitcoin ETF at this point? Probably is.
Yeah, there's I think there is now.
Why not?
All right, it's getting risky in this ADTX, guys. Got to be careful with this one. Could squeeze here. I'm setting the risk right now. Just got triggered out there, guys. It's just too much risk there on the 1220 recovery there. Could still break through the 1180s there, but took the hit there, guys. Just wanted to be safe there on that move. Could still break down here, right back down through the 12. So it keeps kind of like getting right into this zone, and then it gets stuffed. So I would look for another stuff through 12, but that's how it is sometimes with these trades. You got to be in and out, in and out, in and out, and then it really gives you that breakdown. It's that 12 move. I could see it just kind of flirting with it. Right here, it expanded there. 1240s is really the concern area. You got 3 wicks in that area, and it hasn't closed in that area.
Yeah, so this is what, again, we had another alert, blue arrow alert there, but then broke right back through. And again,
there it is, right back above. Saved myself the squeeze.
So I think this is just going to be one of those rules. I just don't look at the microcaps with this particular strategy. I think this could be another way to take a look at those. But,
you know, what they're doing here underneath the hood is kind of interesting. I mean, at least from what I'm seeing out there, I'm not really seeing technology kind of make these huge moves up. Looking into like what's really leading it, the big caps, and there's nothing really kind of holding on too strong there. I mean, maybe Nvidia at 2%. You can maybe look at Nvidia there, trying to break through the 119. Meta would be that name that's probably holding the market up a little bit stronger. Look at Meta straight up the gates. That's definitely one of those names that's definitely holding the market there. 3% on there.
Remove anything that's not moving. So yeah, Meta, Amazon, yeah, Pinduoduo that you mentioned.
But the financials, I think, are more important here than anything. JPM, Bank of America, really nice moves there. Wells Fargo, they got an upgrade today, holding really well. All momentum style on the chart, where it's like holding the 90 MA pullbacks the whole ride up. And so that's kind of what I want to see for momentum, right? And that's showing me the momentum there.
Yeah, just strong market, which again is, like I talked about, exactly what we want to see, right? On the SPY, this is the anchored view app from that major low. Get rid of that one now. And every time we've hit it, never got anywhere near it, there's buyers coming in. So again, just another chalk up for anchored view app, which is great. And now we just got to look at highs. So highs are 569.72. We just got to look at, see what we look like when we get up to those highs. And again, I've got my TSLL and my ACN, and those are the only trades I'm taking there today. There's nothing to do really on the market. I know Rando there got a great opening range break trade on those, which is amazing. I still need to look deeper into that. I looked a little bit into the code that you sent me there, and it looks good. Looks well done. I just need to do a little bit more kind of testing on my own with my own tools.
Quantum names keep going lower, guys.
Speaking of opening range, I'm watching this QMNQ, and then it will be GLL. So GLL will break out. You see this thing doesn't really move, but it is going to be 2 times the percentage of gold. I couldn't find it 3 times, but the idea will be buy it here. So that gold starts breaking down, there'll be about 13.45 to 13.25 stop. So take 100, 200 shares, and then no profit target, just stop loss or the end of the day. That's more ideas just to have more strategies on, because you got to remember, at least the way I look at it is that you're building ideally a portfolio with edge, right? So every morning you come in, you say, I want to build a portfolio, I want to buy this, I want to sell this, I want to buy this, I want to sell this. And then you're hoping that that whole portfolio has some amount of edge associated with it. And then at the end of the day, it closes. And if the market's up 2%, you hope that your portfolio is up more. And if the market's down 1%, you hope your portfolio is down a little bit less, and you move on from there. So portfolio of strategies, I guess, as opposed to portfolio of stocks, the best way to look at it. Oil is just ripping. That USO cruising there. So we have XLF doing well. We have SPY doing well. Even IWM. Even the small caps are ripping. That's just shocking to everybody.
XLE continuing to rise there. XLI continuing to rise. XLF now starting to pull back a little bit, but still hanging on to the 9 EMA.
Things are taking a little bit of a break here, but look at that opening drive. They had massive push up, a little bit of consolidation around the 2-day VWAP, and then as soon as it got through that, just off to the races. Gas selling alert here. And watching gold. That's basically watching gold for an opening range break lower, stop up in this area somewhere. So not quite the all-time highs, but again, the idea behind this, we marked it out in
small name breaking out, CRVO Servo Med.
Wow. That's a nice look.
Decent daily chart above 10 where the resistance broke.
Gold bouncing a bit. So that's the beauty of it. I've got the alert set right there. And if that alert comes into play, then great. We can have a bit of a push down on push down on gold, and that would do the GLL up if we can end up breaking through that zone. And I've got TSLA and ACN, both of which pulling back a little bit. Didn't hit targets yet. Oil just rocketing there. Look at that.
Oil, baby.
Massive opening range kind of candle oil there.
see what happens here. We start to see the reversal, or do we hold on to the day and just keep climbing? It's been a climb, stair-step type of time. I think we got to continue to watch to see what happens there. Any last comment before we get to a little conversation here with my man Michael Cat's gonna join the show, guys. Hit the like.
Yeah, no comment other than we're extended, of course. So when we pull back, which we're going to probably at some point, where do we find buyers? Right? If we find buyers,
yeah,
anywhere in this kind of 567, anywhere above 2-day VWAP, and we move from there. It'd be a nice trend day, but just kind of caught me off guard. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. No, I think it one of the things was that pre-market move, right, is always going to make things like get the shakeup, right? Like that type of move is going to shake a lot of traders, right? And so it's kind of hard to react fast when you got that type of move that happened at 4:30 a.m. But I mean, it also could have been just a big trader just kind of liquidating a position, right? I mean, so I think that's something to think about, right? So we'll see what happens here. Let's go ahead. Let's bring on the man himself. Some call him the myth. Some call him the legend. Michael Katz. What's going on, man?
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Goes wild.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Appreciate
It's the true stock star, right? You're our stock star. I'll tell you that, man. Because one thing that I always talk about is mass buying power. We need more. So we're
working on that.
We're getting new programs, and I always love that you listen to feedback, right? That's one thing I've mentioned about it yesterday. It's so important, guys, because at the end of the day, you guys run the show too. That's what I always tell everybody in the chat. Don't forget that, right? I feel like too many times there's too many companies that just don't listen to feedback. And that's one thing that I've been truly proud of behind Trade the Pool, is that you guys are always trying to hear what the customers are saying, what you guys are looking for, what you guys like, what you don't like, and then making improvements. 2 new programs coming out. Michael, tell us a little bit more about it. I'm sure you got some feedback from different traders that weighed in on this decision, and it's a big change. So I'll put it up on the screen, at least for the website, but tell us a little bit more.
For sure. So first of all, as traders, we all in the office, like 80% of us are traders, right? So we always think as a trader, what would be a better solution for home-based traders, just as we've been for many, many years. So this is definitely one thing that drives us in order to find better solution, better programs, better parameters for the programs, and so on. And besides that, listening, like you said, listening to the guys that been with us from the get-go, we're getting tons of feedbacks every day. So we always listen to that, reading what they say, analyze them. We have tons of meeting here, just talking about those feedbacks and what we can do with it. We track a lot of data to understand how we can improve on our side as a company to manage the risk of everyone, and also give to the traders the best opportunity. And the prop industry, like for Forex and futures, they've been around for many years. And we actually started roughly 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. But the state of mind was a little bit different, and because as the title says on our website, we are actually changing the way you trade. Once we decided to build that solution of capping that risk or limiting that risk, we actually automatically shift the way a trader behave, right? Instead of putting your money with, I don't know, like Robinhood or whatever it is, and risk everything, you actually risk in, that's it, the one-time fee that you're paying for the evaluation. Now we have a new program for 5K even, and it's still obviously without the PDT rule, and you put in, let's say, $47. Imagine how many times you can take the evaluation until you pass it, either one time, or even if you tried it 10 times, $500 that you spent on it, it's still worth it than putting your own risk to the game. So I'm loving the change that we bring into the table, and I see that all of you guys loving it as well. So that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's no more excuse for not trading, right? I've always heard that excuse multiple times, or like I mentioned, I know so many traders that are even flagged for PDT, right? Because
Mm,
Yep.
they're trying to be day traders without accounts, right? Let's just be honest.
yeah.
And with
Mhm.
that, I think the part of it is also learning, right? Like taking just 3 trades every, kind of flipping of that PDT, it's not really going to be a proof of like your systems, right? Like I talk about, you got to take like at least 50 trades or something like that for it to even be considered like a good, sample size and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think that this is exactly what this gives us also. For those traders, I mean, $47, like I talked about, I mean, can't pull that together. I mean, we got to talk something else, right? But we got to talk some jobs here. But other than that, I mean, I think this is really giving traders the opportunity. And then let's say if you're that type of trader, right? Well, then maybe here it's not the systematic. Maybe you're here and you're like, well, I need the unlimited because I want to keep trading. I just want to trade
Mhm.
small and see what I can do, right? Start proving my skills to myself, right? I think that's a big opportunity there. So I think we'll see what happens here. But definitely, it's very important to kind of catch this, guys. I think this is a great opportunity just to even be looking at trying to expand your own skills, test different strategies, right? We talk about it with Michael all the time, Michael Noss, about different strategy testing. And one of the ways you can do that is by having that unlimited so that you can, size down and test some different strategies, see what's really working for you.
Yeah,
So
and I
I'm
can't,
excited about that.
and I mentioned this yesterday. That was something when I was taking the evals that even though I wasn't getting anywhere near the time limit, it was just this thing in the back of your head saying, you almost felt the need, for me anyway, and different traders will be different. I felt the need to trade. I felt the need to take trades because, I have this time limit. It's, I'm pushing towards something, and if I don't do it in time, then I've got to reset or apply more money or something. And again, it's just psychological that you felt like you need to do it, and that with this is just completely gone. Right? If you're very confident in your strategy now, you can go for the big guy account. You can go for the biggest account, and just know that as long as you're very confident that you have some edge in your trading and you trade small enough, if it takes you 6 months to get a $200,000 account, who cares? Like, where else are you going to be able to get 200K together in 6 months? You have that time now where you can
Yeah.
keep going, and you'll have a much bigger account than anyone else. So again, those are the ones personally that I'm super pumped for, because that just is so freeing to me mentally to say, okay, I don't have to trade. I don't have to do any of this stuff. I can just I can take the setups when they come and then ignore them all the other times.
Yeah, 100%. And yesterday we did some Q&A on our Discord community. And it was great as well. Lots of questions came. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. And besides that, we are super excited to see what we can do with it. I know some of you guys are waiting for the swing accounts as well. We are working on that. Hopefully it will be done within a week, top 2 weeks. And you will also have a max and a flex for swing trading. So more time, more flexibility. The target will be easier to achieve. So it's gonna be super fun.
Yeah, looking forward to that, definitely. And one of the things that I feel is important is, hey guys, I mean, there's different opportunities now, and I think you got to find what works for you, right? Like I was able to make the $20,000 account work, but maybe for you it's the 50 or the 100, right? It depends on your strategies too, right? Because if you're trying to trade some bigger names, you might need a little bit more buying power to get the returns that you're looking for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing to weigh in now. I think it's important to also be looking at what is your idea for the daily pause, right? And what is your mentality with that, right? Are you looking for a tighter one? Are you looking to be kind of risk managed a little bit more? That could also weigh into your decision of whether you're going for the max or flex. Some people might be like myself, where it's like, well, I need to control the downside action, right? And so I might want the 1% versus the 2% daily pause, right? Because then it could also just be a matter of, hey, I just also need that structured approach, right? So it's depending on the trader. right? And that's what you got to be asking yourself, the smaller questions, to really find out which one is for you.
Yeah, and if you're just at the beginning of your trading career, start with the 5K. No need to rush it. See that you become profitable. See that you have the consistency, and then you can always go again and try the bigger accounts. But no need to rush. It's always, I said it before we had the 5K with the mini buying power that we had, like 20,000. Start with that. It doesn't matter. You just need to get used to the rules. You need to get used to the platform, those kind of elements, just tweaking your strategy. So no need to spend a lot at the beginning. Just give it a shot on the 5K, see that everything works okay, and then go for the bigger.
I'm looking right now. I'm watching a lot of the action, guys. Still holding on. The financials still holding on. Those are climbing. Industrial still climbing. A lot of opportunities. Market is ripping, going right back to the pre-market high. And now I think a little questions will be had. Can we just continue the rally? So just making a call on the market here. But definitely, we'll see what happens here, guys. It's been a tough day for me. I'm on a strike 3 holdout now. So for me, it's always a mentality of I can take a couple trades after a certain amount of time. I'm like, yeah, the getting's good on me today. We'll see what happens. This ADTX cutting 12 again. These are the opportunities that I feel like Trade the Pool gives us also, because if you went to go short this in a regular brokerage account, you'd have to, find some leverage, right? Find what the borrowing cost is on the ADTX, right? And I'm sure it could be pretty high on a stock like this. So we'll see what happens here if it starts to break down. But this could be a nice afternoon breakdown here through the 12. Find out on that ADTX. Of course, a smaller name, big flyers. You know how these come up and they come right back down, especially when they do a nice 1 for 250 split. So
the daily chart on
opportunities,
that makes
guys.
Me laugh every time. The daily chart on that is just so hilarious. The $200 billion a share that it was worth back in the day. It's just nuts. Yeah, that's the height of it.
If I'm already here, Mitch, let me share my screen for a second.
What? Hit the like, guys. Hit the like out there. I know you guys are watching out there on X, and I got to give a shout out to Quasar Markets. Shout out to them. They hit the retweet for us, guys. Give them some love, right? These guys have really been truly supporting us. We support them also, like we talked about when we came on, right? If you're not using AI in your trading, at least to understand even better your trading, guys, use the tools that are around you. That's why we have such great partners also, because we want to supply you guys with the tools needed so that you don't feel like you are in a lack of information. This is the age of information, so look for the tools to have underneath your tool belt. Same way that Michael Noss works on strategies. You need to have your tools, right? And be able to pull on different levers at different times. It's so important. Let's take a look at Michael's charts here, see what he's looking into the market. How are you seeing things? Hold on 1 second. I got to remove mine. StreamYard did this weird thing where I got to remove and then bring it back. But here you go, my friend. We got you up.
Cool. So I got to say, in regarding to the partners, maybe we can use your help, guys, that listening right now. If you find a company that you think will be a good fit to Trade the Pool, a partner that supply like AI solutions, scanners, trading journal, whatever you think or you're using that can be benefit for all traders, make sure to let us know about it. Send it to me at michael@tradethepool.com or help at Trade the Pool, because we're always looking for that right partner to collaborate with and actually bring you more value, as we are doing with Trade Ideas, TrendSpider, Bookmap, Trader Sync, and more. So let's work together on that. Just a quick look on the Nasdaq and the VIX, right? Because yesterday I took a short on the Nasdaq. It was a super tough trade to take. Actually started it around this area, added a little bit more here. So I covered, once it dropped, I covered with a loss. And then in the morning, I saw it dropping nicely. Now that it's popping up, I'm looking at the VIX, just trying to find the correlation between those two. As we know, when the VIX is dropping, the S&P will go up, and the opposite. So what I'm doing is just going to the hourly chart or maybe the 4H and looking for that next support basically on the VIX, right? And this is probably around the 19 points for the VIX. You can already see that the MACD is doing a positive divergence. So it makes sense that if we'll drop to the 19, meaning if we drop into the 19, the NASDAQ will continue higher. And then when we will reach the 19, which is roughly the next support level, we should see a reverse on the VIX. And then the NASDAQ could start dropping a little bit more. For those who've been with me for a while, you know that I'm on a short bias from the core of it. So it also makes sense that the price of the Nasdaq will continue to rally at around 2,200, and then we will see another drop. This is what I'm aiming for, at least, to take that short once we will reach those levels. That's it. That's my.
That's it. That's the gist of what's going on here from Michael. And that's the MACD on the bottom, right? Or am I right on that?
Yeah,
I know that's one of your looks on that. What time frame do you like it to be looking at that? Because of course time frames can matter there. You like the 15-minute, hourly. What charts do you mainly use?
So when analyzing it, it most likely will be the hourly chart and the 4 hour. But when I'm timing it, it's just or executing it, usually will be the 1 minute chart. And you can also look, once you're down to the 1 minute chart, you can look also for divergence in the MACD. Obviously, with the rest of the parameters like the liquidity level, the price action, and all. But you can easily see for now, even now, you can see the negative diversion here.
Yeah.
Not a lot of volume. In most cases, I would like to see high volume coming at the top. So capitulation. If it was a major level here, I would probably short it, but I will wait a little bit more to the next resistance level, which is around this area. Roughly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you guys have it, and the market's continuing to hold. We've been talking about it. It's been an interesting time, especially when we get these uncertainty times. It's definitely time to make and lose money, the way that I say it. But the key is, of course, trying to find different ways to get advantages in the market, right? Sure. I'm looking at different ways, and the penny stocks have been tough. You guys see me getting after ADTX, right? And trying to get these, and I think there are opportunities. But like always, guys, keep in mind, the idea here is always to try to find things that work for you. I've been kind of downsizing here, trying to keep getting after it, but like always, it's all about finding the consistency that works for you, right? And I think that you gotta keep going at it. And know when the getting's good and when it's not for you, right? There's going to be times when your strategies are working really well and times when they're not. And I think that that's the important thing, understanding that. Here you guys see me get cut out one more time. Just seems like the small caps not working right now. Large caps are working today for sure. XLE is starting to turn around, though. That's one thing that's a good positive sign for this rally. Because if the energy is going to keep climbing, that's not a good thing. But now you're starting to see that nice little downfall in the XLE. XLF's continuing to pick up, guys. Continuing to pick up. It hasn't pulled back pretty much all day long. And Q's same thing. Right in that 9 EMA, right? No VWAP touch since that red to green recovery out the gates. Strong move here out the gates here. Not yet.
Yeah, just on your XLE, one thing that I really like and I'm watching here. So this is let me clean up. Very messy chart. So these are again, we were talking about how crazy oil was off the open. So I just marked up, yesterday's high and then the pre-market high here on the futures. And if we fail here, if we start to trade back down into this range, I think that actually could be a little bit of a fade, which is stop at the high. I've been talking more and more, using longer term charts, and we just saw it too with Michael there, using longer term charts and then taking trades and using these leveraged ETFs to get a little bit of the juice there, putting out the stops and having the system kind of liquidate you at the end of the day. And that might be a candidate for it. So this is one that I'm definitely going to watch. I think I'm going to set an alert probably under that 15-minute candle low and then go hunt for a nice double, triple leveraged oil ETF. I'm sure they're out there. It's one of the benefits of, looking at futures and doing your analysis there, and then actually trading the stock side of things is that, I guarantee you, I haven't even looked yet, but there's definitely, what is it, UPRO? There's a whole bunch of these leveraged short names that you can trade from.
And we have them all with big buying power.
Yeah, and then combining. Michael's been using a little bit of maybe looking into the future and futures like contracts, and then trying to use some stock trades off of that. So definitely, guys, we're going to be kind of expanding and trying different things.
WTIU. Never mind. So to say that's a 3 times leveraged oil, but no, certainly won't be trading that.
Don't trade that.
No. So SEO, they're saying that's
you have the US
Gush
and UCO.
Gush and drip. The gusher and the drip, man. And those are the ones that I use if I want to use the leverage ones. The gusher and drip.
Yeah.
Direction,
so
right? If you guys don't know, the reason why it's the more liquidity in these direction ETFs a lot of the times.
Well, and it's interesting. You can see the difference here because this is oil suppliers. So this would be leveraged on, the guys who actually pull it out of the ground. Yeah. Whereas something like a UCO, this is just leveraged on the actual. So I think this is 2x leverage USO and UCO. So I'm just making a list over here, right? Because we talked about, again, I've got this gold idea that's come from the futures. And if we end up breaking down on this range on gold, I just like it because we had this undercut of this massive level, and now we're looking to push lower. The 5-day moving average here, and that's also looking to push lower. So if that breaks down, then as we talked about, I just Google and found right away a GLL, and that's a very, very slow mover, but that's double gold. So again, you can use that and you get a big buying power account, and you don't need insane percentage moves. Again, the idea behind this is to complement kind of the scalping strategy that I passed the smaller account with, is to use something with these bigger guys and take more positions and longer term trades, as in, when we get swing trading counts, we'll definitely talk about that. When we get the update, I guess the swing trading counts will talk about that. But yeah, just long-term position day trades, something that I can take on while I'm here on air, and then let it go for the day and kind of check on it periodically throughout the day on the Trade the Pool mobile app.
Or the web. Yeah, we do have the web as well.
Yeah.
For those of you who wanna use.
Which I thank you as a Mac guy. I appreciate that. And it's actually been great. It's exactly like the downloaded application. So it's been great,
guys. I need to step down here and finish for today. I'm actually going to be back. We're having a longer show, right?
Longer show, guys. Longer show. We're going a little bit extra here today, guys. So stay tuned for that, guys. And now I think you're going over to the Fivers side of things, right?
I do. I didn't want to say that, so the guys won't see. But I'm going for a few minutes there just to talk about again the platform or the plans that we just launched, because I know a lot of Forex traders are also looking for the experience to try to experience with the stock trading, and now that we have it unlimited and the 5K account, it will be much easier for them to move to that direction, because let's face it, Forex is boring.
Well, excited to hear a little bit more.
I traded Forex for a while. It's very boring. Yeah.
It moves back and forth. That's one of the things. You got to have the multiple tools, right? Like I always say, tools in the tool belt, man. So we'll see you back on here. I appreciate you coming on, Michael. See you in a little while.
Bye for now.
All right, guys, let's get back to this market. Market continuing to hold here, guys. I'm out of ammo, guys. I'm out of ammo, guys. I took a pretty good hit today, guys. I told you guys I was 2 coffees deep today, guys. Maybe not the most best way to go after it today, but I went for it, guys, and it didn't work out. But one thing I'm looking at now is, so when I get into this mode, there's 2 things I can do, right? I can either try to beat myself up or look for the longer term trends. That's what I'm looking for, right? Remember I talked about XLF. XLI. So what am I seeing there that's strong today, right? And trying to find relative strength to tell me, hey, keep an eye on these names. So one name that's standing out to me, GEV. Why GEV? You guys know I'm all about the themes, right? And nuclear, I don't think small nuclear reactors is going away anytime soon. With all the conversation of cloud computing, right? And trying to create these huge kind of like these mega places where you're having, AI and cloud computing and like these servers, right? This isn't going away anytime soon, right? And so this chart tells me more and more to keep my eye on it. It did do that undercut, right? But coming back, recovering the 9, now recovering the EMA 50 and holding today, looking well with the XLI. I think this is an area definitely you keep on your radar, and you continue to watch those XLI names. Remember, we talked about GE earlier in the week about 200. That's already recovering, now almost 206, right? Yeah. So names like that, I'd keep an eye out. They're not doing too bad here. SPY now showing a little bit of a kind of a harmy on the 15, right? We'll see what happens here. Nice expansion back.
Okay, because it's a big level. It was the high on this day. It was the high on the prior day. It was the pre-market high, and then we're back there as well. So, yeah, just because it's all that doesn't mean that that's a shot that I'd just take right out of the blue. But again, that's a big level. That's something that we definitely have to keep an eye on. And it may just mean that we don't get through there right away. It may just mean that it takes a couple minutes or hours or 15-minute candles or whatever it is, because I certainly wouldn't just bet short right now on this market just because it's been so insanely strong today. I would give it some time, but we're hanging out in this range. It's a very important range. It's something we really need to keep an eye on. We really need to watch going forward to make sure that if we get through that range, this could be just an insane day. We're only up 0.4 points. 0.5% right across the board. We got to remember, but so it's definitely room to go. But from the open, that was just these are 15-minute candles. There's nothing here to get you into anything. Just rip. So it's definitely been one of those. Just checking up on some of the trades I got open. It's just ACN. That was this one. ACN, that one's doing great. Just grinding higher. So that's definitely the best one today. TSLL just hasn't moved for me, but still in that one. And then the only other thing, again, I'm watching is GLL. So that's the gold, this ultra short gold. If we get the move down on gold, which right now is starting to push up, we're getting to the 2-day VWAP there. Interested there. And then also interested on oil. If, again, a lot of ifs. That's how trading works, though. If we failed at this level, which it doesn't look like we're doing, looks like we're pushing higher. So I don't think there'll be a trade to be had there either. So again, light trading day, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? You just keep the trades going and you wait for tomorrow, right? The big important thing is to not force them. That's something an old Michael would have done all the time, is think you need to take a lot of trades every day. If there's nothing there for your setup, sit out.
Yeah,
hang out.
Take it easy. Hang out. All right, guys, we'll see you right there. Man, that ADTX, man, that thing's been itching all day. Oh, yeah. We'll see if it finally does break down here. Definitely on that last action, got a bad fill there. That cost me there. If I kept holding on the 12, this is still holding right now. So we'll see what happens. That 12 undercut was a big undercut, I feel like. And then we went back towards like the 1240s. We keep rejecting that 1240 range. To me, there's a bigger short on this one. And the reason why they're shorting at that level, it's yesterday's high. And they keep kind of getting short off of yesterday's high, using yesterday's high. And then there's only wicks pretty much above that 12. It did get there closer towards 13, so I'm sure it put some pressure on for a little while there. But ever since then, it's been on a straight down move. We'll look to see if it recovers 12 later today. WINT also kind of hanging out there around the 3. That's another smaller name. Q's continuing, though. There it is, guys. There's a nice little continuation there. 5-minute pattern still holding the 90 EMA, just continuing to drive up there. Yesterday's high comes into play now, which is around the 485.33. So we're almost, we got about a buck there to go on the Qs. And this is one of those days where I feel like it's just the shake, man, doing the shake. And one thing that's going to be interesting, I think, to me is the close today. And of course, tomorrow is a massive important day with some option expiration coming into play. So keep your eyes on that action too. We could see some blitz calls.
And I think the close is very important because, look, we've been up here twice, right? We were up here on this day. We were up here on this day. We couldn't hold both days, right? So we end up fading back down, closing, green and very strong on both those days. But we haven't been able to stick the landing above, call it 483. So if we can do that finally, again, that's more evidence because, I'll tell you, a lot of these hedge funds, they're doing their models based off closing prices. Okay? The most important price, Charles Dow taught us ages ago, right? That's the most important price. And there's the SPY, right? Same kind of deal, closer to the 200-day. That's what this line is here. So back through the 200-day, that's very interesting. Again, the 200-day is important for a couple of reasons. One of them is the fact that a lot of systems run off the 200-day. Some of the systems I have as well, where they're not trading based off the 200-day, but they're using the stock's relative location to the 200-day as whether or not it's a healthy market or not. We know being above a rising 200-day moving average is going to be way healthier than being below a declining 200-day moving average. So a lot of systems use that because it keeps you out of 2020 and 2022 or 2022, 2023, right? So you can see every time before we entered a big bear market, we got below the 200-day moving average, right? So we get below the 200-day moving average, we spend a long time, we finally get above. This is where a lot of buy systems will turn back on. If we go back in 2020, we cross below there, right? A lot of buy systems turn off, we get back above, a lot of buy systems turn on, right? So this happens just all the time. And again, it's not because it's magic or perfect or anything like that. It's just you have to use something to say, this is when I'm turning my system off, this is when I'm turning my system on. And again, you see a lot of that kind of action from these type of names. So that's why that's so important. We're very much close to it on the SPY and not so close to it on the Qs, right? It's because, again, the Qs have been very relative weak during this overall move.
Yeah. And remember I talked about how the SPY could be getting that crossover on the MACD, right? So now you're starting to see that on the daily, right? Not saying that this is going to hold right now, but just at least something to see, right? So there's the crossover, right? That's what I was trying to look for, if what would happen today on that, right? And so it's showing the cross there. Now we just got to continue to watch, right? Also, I'm watching to see if this RSI can cross back through this level here, the 52, 55. That'll be also a good sign to start seeing there as we start to look to see some relative strength play in. XLE still hanging in there. XLI also hanging in there. It just seems like the market's just stepping higher here. We'll look to see if it does take an elevator move back down. Rando saying he just hit his profit target and he's got to take it, got to take it. And there's nothing wrong with that either, right? One thing I think that sometimes we think about is the expansion above the profit target, but sometimes it's just about continuing base hits. And if you're more about the base hits, take your profit and run. Nothing wrong with that. Celebrate the day, keep it going. That's the way the game is.
Especially
ADTX by
trading,
Steph
right?
and BDTX coming in there. Alerts in the chat. We'll see what happens on that. How did that ADTX look now? Oh, yeah, now. Don't look, Mitch. Don't look.
Don't do it. So ACN, I just got triggered out here. Again, the ultimate target is a 2-day VWAP. I always chicken out before that. And so the reason I got out here is just that it was the low of this one. That obviously the winner today. And again, these are if there's an A+ setup in my strategy, and I'm saying this for you guys, but then also loudly for myself, it's just this, right? It's the long extended period of time below the VWAP before the breakthrough, right? Where something ADTX is a perfect example of something that I really probably shouldn't take. This has just been chopping above and below VWAP the whole time. So it just it shows that it's not respecting it nearly as much. And same with TSLL, right? This spent a whole lot of time below VWAP before it broke out in the morning. And again, I'm still in this. It hasn't really moved too much. I'm up on it, but not anywhere near target or loss. So You know, and then there's things like this that I'm just going to avoid entirely, right? Above VWAP, below VWAP, above VWAP, below VWAP, just not something that I super want to trade. So that's the idea. Again, I need to, if I'm going to rank the setups in the morning for what I want to do, and this is something I'm going to look to scan, is how long they've been above or below VWAP. So this initial trade on WNT right in here, that would have been a textbook short, but the thing is the stop has to go way up here. So you're entering it 275 with a stop at 350. Right? That's just a massive percent of gain. So to get a 1-to-1 on that, I would just need this thing to absolutely fall apart. And I just don't think the probabilities on those things are there in order to make that a worthwhile system I want to do over and over again. Where with something like ACN, right, I'm entering right here. You guys saw that at 297 with stop at 291. So that's $6 a share, but this thing is down from 340. So this thing's down $40 a share and I'm risking 6. So it just makes it way more, it increases the probability that I'll end up getting my profit target, which at the end of the day is all we really need to see.
We'll see what happens here, guys. Looking around in the streets, what's going on out there. So watching out there to see what's being talked about. Looks like not much. The streets being quiet. Everyone's focusing on the trading action. A lot of action coming on here. So looking out to see what happens here if we can continue the rally. Oh, that ADTX will be a miss, guys. Bad execution play on that today, guys. I feel like I could have nailed that one. It just bad execution on it, and it did cut down there towards the 11-17. We'll look to see if it's an all-day fade now. SPY finally showing some red, at least on the little bit of the break of the 9 EMA now. It's held it a couple of times, so at least from what I see here, I see about 1 pattern, 2 patterns, 3 patterns, and it just ran into the 4th. So a lot of times this is when I could see that kind of like, you know, 1, 2, 3 kind of pull back, right? We'll see what happens here. How far do we pull back? Is it the 50? Is it the 200, right? So I'll be watching for that. Small pullback could put us back towards like 569 here. So we'll see what happens if that can hold here. Maybe 568 on the 15-minute 9 EMA. Right now, I'd be kind of looking at a trend line approach kind of there. That's kind of a very similar area, right? If it comes back for a trend line break and a throwback look on the SPY, that could be kind of what you're looking for in the market here. So throwback look, we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, so still watching gold again. It's got nowhere near the low, but it is coming back up to that range. So it makes me want to potentially take a little bit of a shot here and then maybe add to it if it hits lows. Again, these are going to be way more discretionary trades, but they're longer term trades. So I think that's totally okay. And again, the basic idea is that I think that this area of resistance up here is going to hold. We spent a bit of time after hours above it, and now we're below it. And now we've just grinded back up to that zone. So I'm going to watch this one and, you know, maybe use a 15-minute bar reversal, which just means wait for this one to close and then enter in the low of the bar to add some and then add the other. And again, I'll be expressing these with these ideas right here. So things like GLL, right? It's a very slow, easy way to take these trades. Again, if I think gold is going to be higher by the end of the day, I can take a shot there. And again, that's the bet that I'm looking to take on these. They're not, you know, blow the world open or anything like that. It's just saying, I think that based off longer term charts that we could have a nice little up day or down day in gold. So an up day in this GLL. And I bid. Okay. Oh yeah, the spread on that GLL is pretty wide, so we'll see. Yeah, and that's again the idea behind them is just I'm looking at a long-term chart and I'm just making a bet on something that's super chill on a long-term chart, and then gonna do very small risks and no profit targets. Right, the stop will be, or the target will be a time stop, and that the idea behind that is just you hold till a period of time. It's kind of the end of the day, and then you go from there. This obviously the failure that I was looking to have happen here on oil isn't happening, so that's off. And then Bitcoin broke this downtrend line earlier in the day, So I missed that one entirely. So if it comes back down to test, this might be another one to take as well. Again, Bitcoin well above the 5-day moving average, looking really, really good there on Bitcoin. So again, just taking shots in some of these plays, trying to stay away from
set up XLU.
Trying to stay away from the ADTXs and the WINTs of the world. Those are the things that get me in trouble.
Yeah, there's another one that's getting people into trouble, but not a bad one if you're on the upside. BKKT, Barak Holdings. I think it's been an absolute monster
thing,
today.
Isn't it? I think that's a crypto play, isn't it?
It might be. I think I've heard of it before. And I mean, that's a nice gap fill already, so it might just be already done, guys. It did fill the gap already towards like 13, so we'll see what happens if it can keep going. But there's some that are showing up there. I didn't catch that one early, and then there was a AEVA. That's another smaller one. But looking around out there, looking to see what happens. XLU is an interesting chart just because it's like really, really kind of stuck right here. So I think it could break above the 79.20s. We'll see if that happens to get the lift there. Not a bad area to look for. It is not doing too bad today. Financial still holding on.
Yeah, what a chart, right? I was just talking about the 200-day moving average before, right? And this just shows how the strength of this financials still nowhere near the 200-day moving average. Made a break of that in November of 2023, and then not looking back.
Another thing is it's right off the monthly support too, right? So another thing is for bigger time frame traders, they're catching that support buy for sure.
Yeah, and then I also have here again an anchored VWAP from this low, the end carry explosion that happened a while ago. You can see it was support once, support twice, and now support 3 times. So continuing to ride that AVWAP is something that gets very interesting when you see that occur as a way to take a little bit of shots on things. So I don't know. I may just kill my Tesla or my TSLL here. Just moving stops probably right above these lows on using Tesla. But again, I'm in TSLL. It's everything else is ripping. This thing hasn't been able to get going. I'm in it. That puts me up. If it gets triggered, puts me up like $5 on the trade. I just figure I've given it enough time to do what I want it to do, and if it's not going to do it, then I'll raise my stop up to now we're break even, a little bit better, and then just move on. Right? I don't have to worry about that risk anymore. Yeah, just looking at this, right? Talk about relative strength, relative weakness all the time. So this is Tesla, and then that's the Qs. So the Qs are ripping, and Tesla just couldn't get going at all. That just shows some big relative weakness that I really don't want to be dealing with. Oh, are you muted there, Mitch?
Good old fashioned hard mute. Yeah. I was drinking my coffee. Didn't want to be that guy, but I think one of the things that is happening is it needs some catalyst change, right? It needs something, right? The price action is trying at times, but we need something with news, something news related. I think it's gonna take that for Tesla. Whether it be their cheaper vehicle that they're wanting to come out this year, right? Whether it be another mention of robo-taxis, right? Whether it be the robotics. Those are the things you need to be looking for. Those are the only 3 things I could see turning that boat right now. And one thing that I say keep watching is the delinquencies and auto manufacturing buying overall, because that's the one area that I could see slowdowns coming in faster than housing. Housing takes a long time to show up, right? And I think that you think about it this way. If I have to cut one item and I'm willing for them to go and repossess my vehicle, I'm not going to give up my house, right? And so I think that's one number that I'm watching first to see if there's real trouble or not, right? So continue watching that. Meta finally pulling back. Finally.
Dan Ives put out a big thing, and he is probably like the biggest Tesla bull ever, like since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
And even he put out something, a big statement today, saying the political unrest with Elon, he thinks is causing a lot of this move, and it was kind of like almost like a note to Elon to maybe calm down, because this guy's been right and has made so much money off his Tesla trade. It's just insane, like multi-million dollars.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, like, everyone's talking about that, but where's the delinquency talk? Not something you're seeing brought up with that. And I think that I like to focus on things sometimes if there's a fundamental change under the business, or is it just rhetoric? If it's just rhetoric, it can come back. I mean, I think, but I think there's something else going on. The breaking of it just doesn't seem to me like there's so that's why what I'm watching also, to give a good perspective into this, is continuing to watch GM, the one that has the positive outlook for the year. If that starts to break back down towards, let's say, 40, that would be my sign of concern that it's just not Tesla.
Yeah, look at the relative strength there. That's amazing. So GM's only down. GM is down from all-time highs
18%, around
18%.
that, something
and
like
Tesla that. Is down. So yeah, you want to see relative strength, relative weakness. Tesla's down over half. So yeah, it's definitely not if it is a car thing, then it is specifically a Tesla car thing, right? If it's a brand thing, then it makes sense for Tesla to be down way more than GM. And again, we look at the 200-day moving average. If some people don't like percentages, and I get that because things can just be more volatile. But here's Tesla and how it just sliced through its 200-day. And then if we look at GM, it's holding right at that price. So it just shows, even the reason that that's important is it's a relative to its own stock, right? So relative to the own stock, even if you take volatility out of the equation, GM is just smoking Tesla on this down move. And then you can start looking at some of the other names. Ford, which has been worst of all, is still closer to its 200-day moving average. So was it Toyota? That's one of those like pink sheets, isn't it?
TM.
Is it TM? Oh,
yeah.
So that's above its 200-day moving average. Yeah. So that would be kind of something to keep an eye on with your argument too, is that cars aren't going down, right? The market's down, and GM's down a little bit more than the overall market. I think it's down like a couple of percentage more. Tesla's down, right? So if you start to see where all of these things start to move in lockstep, then yeah, I think that supports the argument a little bit more. But I'm more on the, I've seen I know they're isolated videos, but I've seen the videos of people, getting the Teslas beat up in the streets, and guys taking the names off them and getting bumper stickers of "I bought this before Elon went crazy," and like all this kind of ways to protect the brand. And that's really hard to recover from, is if your brand recognition gets that beat up, that becomes really hard. Now, that being said, for a trade, I really like Tesla down here. It's just oversold. I think if the market goes up 4 or 5% and it bounces, I think Tesla's going to go up 10 or 15%, just because it's a higher beta type play.
I want to see the full retracement back to like 212s. So of course, this move came out of that low around 212.11. So sometimes I like to see it make the full trip back, right? Make that full trip back, and then find some big buyer again, right? Someone that maybe made some money on the move from that to 488 and was smart and sold into it maybe. So we'll see what happens there. Another thing that gives me that level is a trend line that goes through that level back down closer towards 198, which is just the trend line break from the highs back in like 22, right? Like kind of like a throwback look back to that. So
yeah, I did end up, you can see here on the 2-minute chart, I did end up just getting taken out of that trade. So that was kind of I was, it technically broke the rules, right? Because technically I should leave the stop in, leave the target in, and walk away. But it was one of those, it was just so relatively weak to the cues that I figure if we get any pullback in the cues, this thing could happen. As it could take more of a hit, just because you expect relative strength. You want to be in names that are showing relative strength, and it just wasn't doing that for me. So I took that. So that is all of the VWAP scalps out of the way with a slightly profitable day there. And then now really it's just gold. Gold is my only idea kind of going into potential long-term trade. If we reject off of this area that we were up before and start to pull back, that's a shot I'm going to take there.
All right. Well, let's go ahead. Let's bring back the man himself. What's up,
Hey guys?
Michael?
Back again.
So, yeah, sorry, I was at the Fivers, and I told them that I will come here as well, so it will be an easy going, right? So I see lots of the guys coming from the stream of Fivers to us right now. So
Let's go.
great.
Let's take a look. I'm sure they're trading some maybe some E-minis or something like that out there, and taking a look into the overall market.
Mostly
we're watching
Forex. So we need to take
talk
them
that money. Talk that money, guys. How's the dollar looking, Michael? How's the dollar looking here?
How's the
Boring.
dollar? Yeah.
Does that work? This is the dollar over the last week or so, right? Just absolutely no movement, which could be good for stocks overall, but yeah, nothing super happening in dollar land right now, which is why we can always come talk about stock land, where if you take a look at what's happening today on the market alone, there's been massive opportunity off the open. If you end up getting a trade there, fading back a bit, a lot of doing, chats about where this pullback is going to end, if it's going to end. I think VWAPs are good places to look at. Different places like that. You can see the blue line and the yellow line. That's around 480 on the Qs. So I'm watching that as well. One thing, again, I don't trade these things well, but look at the blue arrows on this WINT over and over and over again, screaming to potentially break down here. So if this one gives way, this could be an interesting. This is Windtree Therapeutics, which is up 200 and something % today. So if it fades down a little bit, that could be a huge move.
I would take a minute, Michael, Mitch, to first of all, the guy that just joined from Forex. It's interesting because I talked to them a second ago, and a lot of the guys just don't know what it means to trade stocks, right?
Yeah.
So it's you're coming from a different market. You don't know the rules. You don't know even the hours, right? The opening bell time and all. So first of all, you can all, like I said before, you can go to our website and check out under education the stocks to Forex. We created a great page, one pager that tell you all about it, explain the differences and the ticker size and all of those things that you need to know to become a
Who's
stock
that
trader.
guy?
Yeah.
Who's that guy?
We prepared also a few videos, super easy to understand it once you read it once or twice. And like I said before, because we have the 5K account today and unlimited time, you can take your time, understand what it means, trade on the 5K. Once you get the hang of it, you can continue with the bigger accounts.
Yeah, definitely. I threw up the link there, guys, if you guys want to check out that page and learn a little bit more about it. But definitely check that out, guys. I love the information there, and kind of, giving it to you in your language, right? I mean, and that's the important thing, right? It's like learning a new language, so it's going to take a little bit, but doesn't mean that you can't be done. And I think one of the things is it's important ways to kind of continue trading, right? I am starting to see finally starting to see some quantum attraction there. And one of the fun parts of the stock market world is that there's always like events, right? There's events, just like Forex looks for events. There's events in the stock world too. So big event today, 1 p.m. start is the quantum day for NVIDIA. So a lot of people looking for that action there. And we're starting to see some strength there in some of these names. So I'd keep an eye out. One of the ones is the leader. there's always like a leader laggard style move, right? And then we talk about that. And I'm sure you guys see that in the Forex space too. Something kind of leading and then things following. So one of the names that I'm watching is IonQ. It's the leader kind of in the market cap in that quantum game. And it's holding on today really well. Like it hasn't broken down at all compared to these kind of moves that are going back and forth, like QBTS, QUBT, and different names out there. So now IonQ starting to make the lead is something to watch to see if it can make a run into the afternoon. Of course, 1 p.m. is when that NVIDIA event starts. So a lot of traders are going to be watching that. So keep your eyes out for that.
And I would say that's the biggest difference, right? As someone who's traded Forex before and is trading stocks now, and you know, there's both are good. Ideally, you have multiple systems, you have multiple. You know, we talk about that here all the time. That having different systems to work in different environments, great. The big thing about stocks is that, like Mitch was saying, there's always something going on. There's periods of time where in the Forex world, right, the dollar's not moving, gold's not moving, even the overall equity markets aren't doing too much when it comes to the overall indices. But then there's always, like Mitch is showing here, quantum computing's coming out of the blue. We had space being a huge thing with some of these stocks, 10, 15x. There's not a day that goes by really where you're not looking at some sort of stock screener and seeing a theme or biotechs or something that are up 100, 200, 300%. So the amount of opportunity and the amount of inefficiencies in the Forex market is certainly way more than the FX market. And with inefficiencies, if you can, you know, develop the right strategy, with more inefficiencies becomes more potential for gain.
And you know, you got to remember that you can use the stock market and the Forex market to find some correlations, right? Because from time to time you will find it if you're looking for a pound CAD, right, or a USD CAD, like on the oil side, right? So you can find those stocks, that you can find the asset that is moving and actually work together between them. So you use your knowledge from Forex to trade the stock market as well. So this is also something that might help for you.
Yeah, I love that. Look, we've been talking about different trades there. USO, hot, man. Continuing to hold that 9 EMA. I love the 9 EMAs too. So that's one of my things when I'm seeing a momentum move. I want to see it hold that pullback. And it's been holding the pullback all day long, right? So nice little break in this morning, red to green. And then ever since then, came back above that light blue and seems to be holding on really well right now. We'll look to see what happens in that oil game. And then gold has been definitely just kind of holding on here on the lift. We'll see if it can continue making the lift. AU is one of those names that has a tendency to trend with gold. And I think that the important part is when I start to see kind of gold moving with future contracts, I'll take a look at this one, right? Compare it. This one loves to have momentum moves, and you can just see it on the chart, right? Big drives up, big pullbacks, big drives up, big pullbacks. And so finding trends is especially important in stocks, whether you're day trading or swing trading. And that's the fun part of stocks also, is there's multiple sides of it too, right? You can be taking fast intraday moves, or you can be kind of overnight trading, right? And kind of maybe going with a smaller size and looking for bigger moves, right? So it all depends on how you want to trade. There's a lot to learn here, but a lot that you can also apply from your learning that you've done already.
Yeah, and like always, you have the big names like Tesla, Amazon, Google, NVIDIA, Nike, those companies that you either buy and familiar with on a regular basis or just hearing about them on the news. And this is also something that you can start with, you know, before jumping into stocks that maybe you don't feel comfortable to trade. You can definitely start with those that are easier for you to understand. And like I said, I talked about it. Someone asked me on Fiverr just a minute ago, and he said, you know, what about the strategies? Are they the same? I can use the same strategy on my Forex account and also on my Trader Pool account. And you know, I traded Forex for like 4 or 5 months, and it was a good one. You can do that. You can do the same trading, same strategies, reversal, pullbacks, breakouts. The only thing is just to understand the nuances of the market, right? The hours, the data, the catalyst behind like the news that drives the stock and all of those things. But once you get the hang of it, the chart is a chart, right?
Yeah, and charts are essentially crowd psychology, right? That's all it's doing, is it's showing you where the masses are involved, where is their emotion and areas of support and resistance and all of that. So if you have a good handle on that, then that makes sense as well. And like Peach Bum here has mentioned, is that if you're someone who trades gold, we mentioned there's ETFs you can trade. There's leveraged ETFs that are going to move way more than gold will. If gold moves 1%, a leverage ETF might move 2 or 3%. So if you're right, you can obviously make more that way. And then there's individual stocks, right? If you take a look at something again like AU, this is the guy who mines the gold. So if gold is going to sell off today, then it's going to be a direct hit to the bottom line of this company. So this company would move down as well. So there's tons of different ways. And again, there's lots of different themes going on with, quantum computers, which, I don't even think these companies make anything, but just look at some of these moves on the daily chart. You're talking from 60 cents to $29 on a percentage basis. That is 3,500% gain in just a matter of weeks. So if that ever happens to a currency, something has gone really, really wrong.
Yeah.
Well, that IonQ move, not a bad one. We'll continue to see those quantum names lift. But also what I love is keeping up with sectors and industries, right? You guys see me use different tools. I think it's always important to have different tools out there, right? And that's one of the things that I think is fun about stocks, right? Is that you can use a lot of like kind of looking in a more of a macro to micro approach, right? Looking for sectors to drive industries, and then industries drive stocks, right? I think that that's one of the things that is a fun part of stocks. Why I like it a lot is trying to look for those types of trends. So that's why we've been talking a lot about the financial services today. And the fun part is something like this, right? So you look at the overall index. This is an equally weighted index that's held a, long trend, right? Long trend here. And it's been able to reverse out of that. And you can just find different names. And when you can see charts like this, where a sector is making an industry-wide one, you could look to see what kind of industries are leading: special finance, capital markets, asset management, right? All having really good days. But what do you see here too? Everything green in the industries. That is a very important thing, because then I can pick names, and essentially there's not many that are in the red today. Like, just look at these trades, right? A lot of greens from the open. And we're not talking one name, right? And I think that this is what I really think is an important way to look into stocks, is trying to focus on sectors and then trying to find these stock moves, or maybe using ETF vehicles, things like that, to take some of the diversity into play and take some of the volatility out. But a lot of these doing really well, right, guys? You guys are seeing me roll through the charts. I still have yet to see one really collapse, right? And things like that are important to catch, because when you do catch moves like this, you can really kind of have a higher probability of staying in the green. And that's all we're all looking for, right?
More trend in stocks, because they're more driven by fundamental events, that news that have come out, right?
We know IonQ, man. Needed to wait for it, but it's hot. It's hot.
Yeah, nice breakout there. And your ADTX there, which is again a hilarious daily chart, because it was $200 billion stock, we said before. It looks like it might be breaking down here finally. So again, always things we're getting to lunch hour where things slow down, but there's still a lot of names to look at. And again, that was the biggest thing and this is why I kind of say, why not both, to a lot of the Forex people out there, is there'll be times where gold's super interesting, or the euro's going crazy, or something like that, and there's a lot of edge to be had there and a lot of trade when things get inefficient like that. Then there's time where nothing's happening, and there's nothing happening in the euro, and there's nothing happening in the pound or the Canadian dollar. And then it's really good in those cases to be able to have other instruments that you can continue to flip through and go through and say, okay, well, Forex world is kind of dead right now. Let me look at stocks. And again, there'll always be something.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
I'm looking at. Yeah,
I just really quickly, I talk about a leader to laggard trade, right? And this is what it would be, right? So the leader Ion Q taking that big move. We all know how in stock world, a lot of times there's algorithms trying to pick up, right? So they'll start seeing one stock lead. They can't get that one. So they'll go and move down, right? They'll just move down the list. And so now I'd be watching to see if QUBT picks up, if QBTS picks up, right? And if you just watch to see the leader continue to chug along and some of these start to play catch up. So like, look at this QUBTS now starting to get back above 10, which was all the way up past 11 earlier. And now with the momentum that's going to Ion Q, I'd look to see the action also drip down the watch list essentially. And so this is how you can maybe find a leader. Maybe you can't catch the fast one. Maybe you can catch one that's moving a little slower and ride that trend.
That's incredible. I'm looking at ACN, for example, right?
ACN. That's
Yeah.
one that
That one
Michael was
today.
looking at.
Oh yeah. So I mean, if you go to the hourly chart before that, right? The hourly chart is just it dropped from. You're looking at the hourly, yeah. So it dropped from $400 a few weeks ago, from like the mid-February, $400 all the way today to $300, and that's insane move that in the forex market you can't find those moves. But also today, if you drop down to the, let's say, like intraday, so you saw it dropped from because it's after earnings, so it dropped from 325 all the way to 295 and then bounced right now like from the beginning of the day. So this is a classic reversal gap that you can find. Looking to short it once it reaching a major key level and return to the downside, catch it from the bottom. There are tons of things to do here, and the volume is insane. So, and it's happened every day, right? At least in the earnings season, every day you can find those opportunities.
Yeah, and this arrow right here that's where I took the trade, and it was the same. I was looking at the same thing, saying, "Hey, this is a little bit overextended. It's gap down huge." And the idea is that on the open, unlike forex, right, you have a pretty definitive open and a definitive close, and you won't really have institutions trade too much before the open. So my theory is that, okay, if I'm an institution and I like the stock for whatever reason, I'm going to wait for the open and start buying it. Or if I'm short and I want to start covering it, that's going to create upward momentum as well. So basic idea was up through, this is a little custom indicator I built in TradingView, and just said, hey, through the view app, take a shot, stop the low of the day. And you can see just a nice trend. So it didn't really give me any fear at all. And then I exited somewhere at 304 or so. And yeah, just trying to get a little bit of a fade on what we talked about on the hour chart, which is so huge. Doesn't even look like much of a bounce, but that was enough for a decent little trade for me today.
For sure. I gotta answer my man Alex here. He's asking about my account with the Fivers. So I did a live stream when I talked about my strategy on the 320,000 of my hyper grow account there. And you know what? I reached like I needed to do like 32,000 in order to go to the 640,000. And I did 28. And yesterday I traded it and lost, let me check, lost maybe 2,000. So I'm missing roughly 6,000. Yeah, I'm at 26,000. So I need 6,000 more in order to go to that $640,000 of an account. Yeah, once I'll reach that, I'll do another video or another live, just to go and break down all the trades that I did there. Yeah.
Just blowing us away with mass buying power.
You gotta have it.
Look at
Bitcoin looking better, guys. Overall, just thinking about some things that I know you guys take a look at. Also, Bitcoin itself is. Are we in for another rally? Right. I mean, I talked about potentially 78,000 being an area for support. It's looking a little bit better. I had this drawn here, guys, a little while back. I even did this on the fivers. You guys watched me draw this, and we were kind of holding in here, looking to see if we do another one of these, right? Where kind of we came into this kind of channel where we broke out of it, right? So can we do something like that? And there was this undercut that was pretty big on the second, like kind of this third drop here. And if you look here, we're finally getting that, the big wick. Can we recover back through kind of like 92,000, start working our way back here above 100? I think that's something definitely to look out for, especially if the markets are going to continue to rally. So that's one thing that you can do also, is like kind of looking at the cues. And it seems like as of late, the SPY and the Q overlaid over this can really help you also. Right. So you guys can definitely take a look at that to see if we start to get a move back in Bitcoin and overall the market. So I think it's a good judge for growth trades also. When you see Bitcoin really go high is when we've seen Palantir make an insane move, right? Stocks like that, right? I think that's very important to catch, right? When you see kind of these risk on assets, right? Really getting the push. Well, those are when you also will see big stock moves also with that, as the euphoria goes everywhere.
Well, and the trends, right? Like, look at this trend for Palantir, right? Just insane. Then you get these little pullbacks, and it looks great today. And yeah, the persistence of trends in stocks is one thing that I really do enjoy way better than Forex, where you can say, okay, this thing's in an uptrend on the daily chart. So when I'm doing my intraday trades, I just want to be focused on that. I want to be focused on buying on dips and buying on breakouts and things like that. And knowing that I'm just trading with a long-term trend, where, when I was trading too much, when I was doing a lot with Forex, there's just way less overall trend that you can trade with. There can be months here where just nothing's occurring. You can always find something fun to do on an intraday chart when it comes to something like a Palantir or an Nvidia or any of these names that we all know.
Yeah, and also talking about the Bitcoin, you can trade the ETFs that represent the Bitcoin, or you can trade like we said, Palantir, or we can trade what's their name, Coin or Mara. All of those names that relevant to the Bitcoin. So you can definitely do that as well. And when the Bitcoin is moving, those stocks will move, right? Yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to start the wrap up here. Like always, guys, you guys can catch the action. We'll be back on Monday, guys, and we keep doing this. We keep battling, and I want you guys over to come check it out. Another thing that we always recommend, check out the demo that we have, right? That's a great way to go ahead and test this out. See if maybe your strategy can work in the stock game, right? So definitely go ahead and check that out. And that's not going to cost you a single penny, right? Maybe see if maybe stocks and a mixture is what's best for you, right? That's one thing I would definitely recommend. And like always, go ahead and start the learning process, right? Because the learning process is what it's all about. Right here, we do exactly that. So if you guys want to catch us, like always, you guys can catch us. Or maybe it's even just seeing the Fiverr stream and then after learning from our trades, right? So learning when we're getting in, learning when we're getting out, right? That's such an important thing to just look into so that you guys can get to that next level. Michael, I appreciate you bringing us new packages, guys, Flex and the Max. And I'm not flexing. It's for the flexible guys out there that need that consistency. And then for all you guys out there, really look into what matches your personality. That's why the programs were created like this, so that you have the option of matching what's best for you, of course. Wish you guys all the best of luck. Like always, Michael Noss and I and Michael Katz wish you guys success. Like always, it's not just one way. Find the way that works for you. You guys can learn a lot from our funded interviews. Also, we have a great playlist on Trade the Pool that can show you guys from people's recipe of success. Find that recipe that matches your personality and gets you to that level. Of course, you guys see the link right there in the chat. Click that, hit the description below, and we'll see you next time right here, guys. Any last words, boys?
Trade safe out there. It was a massive move off the open, right? Who knows what's going to happen? We're still in an environment where one tweet can push us a couple percentage either direction. So, good day so far. But let's see.
Stay safe, traders.
Bye, guys.